back to another episode of Collector's Quest. I'm Tyler here with Johnny. Johnny, what's going on?
Just hanging out, doing stuff.
Man, you guys always have such good responses. Like, I come prepared with, like, an emergency something to launch into in case I just get asked, oh, not much, what's going on with you? So, like, the podcast can start. Starting a podcast is so hard, by the way, guys. The people who can just, like, walk in front of a camera or a microphone. Ultimate example, I know it's a very niche thing, but Rudy from Alpha Investments on YouTube, that dude, fucking zero script, can walk in front of a camera and just talk for 45 minutes, and it's like, it's insightful, it's eloquent, and like he does his pumping and like all the bullshit that he does, but he's such a good entertainer at walking in front. You just go off every day for 45 minutes, no script, and it's nuts because we just prepared for like an hour on the easiest episode we've ever had to do.
Yeah. Well, it's not that I don't have anything to say, but you're just like, what's going on? It's like, what's going on? You know what's going on. We've just been prepping for an episode. What's going on?
Stefan comes prepared. I say, what's going on? And then Stefan has like a story lined up about how like, oh yeah, I met the artist who did the Castlevania 4 box art. I commissioned 3 paintings from him and I bought his entire stock.
Okay, here you go. Here's what's going on. All right, I'm ready. Ask me what's going on.
Hey, Johnny, what's going on?
Oh, just my wife's going to work all weekend, and my son probably has RSV, and so I haven't got a lot to do. It's been like a struggle. Hey, you know what was really interesting that happened? And this doesn't you ever get basically like a mind virus where you're like inspired, but you're inspired to like do your actual job at work. I got that. I was at home and it was like 10 o'clock and my brain was like, we should do some work right now. And then I did like the best work I've done in 6 months. So yeah, that was a thing I just did the other day. But then that meant when I went to work the next day, I hadn't slept at all. So then like I was pretty tired. So it was a good thing I just kind of had meetings I had to just voice my opinion about, not do like hard work.
Speaking of that, so we're starting work on this video game website that's going to encourage people to play historic video games like in a timeline kind of manner. And so I've been working on emulator guides, on like really quick, to the point guides on how to set up emulators for just like complete idiots who don't want to think at all. Because the whole point of this website is we're going to tell you what and how to play, and you don't have to think of how to set anything up or how much of a game to play, all that kind of stuff. And that has inspired me to go write documentation internally at work because I'm in this mood of like, oh, I really want to tell people how to do stuff. And I've been more productive at work as a result. And
it's when your hobbies pay off.
Yeah. And let me just Google something real quick and see. Yeah, and right as I was doing that, my company announced that in 3 weeks they're gonna lay off of like thousands of people. So now that I'm feeling productive. Let's see if I make it, Johnny.
Oh, God. That's terrifying. That's bad news, Tyler. You didn't tell me that. I am unprepared for this kind of bad news.
Man, they are missing out if they lay me off, Johnny. I'm so good at my fucking job. So, I'll laugh in their face. And my life will be upended, but whatever.
I mean, you just have to stop buying video games and Mama Ada will have to take care of you. It felt really gross to say Mama Ada. I'm not gonna lie.
Let's cut that. Let's just she might listen to this at some point, like when I'm editing.
That felt yucky. I did not like it. Did not feel good in my mouth. That's what she said.
Johnny, are we? Is this a basic episode? Would you say? Is this an episode that people can put on and get some popcorn? Maybe.
Yeah. Yeah. Invite your wine mom over. No, this is like the. If you are lighting some candles right now, perhaps slipping into a bath and trying to manifest that guy you've been looking for, this is the episode for you.
We've done an episode like this for Nintendo, and I don't remember what it was called. Did we even name for this series?
Yeah, we fought about the name because you were like 10 games to save if your house burns down.
Oh, this is the one you ruined. You ruined the episode title. Yeah, okay.
because you were missing the point. And the point was, if you were going to start collecting, right? If you're picking a system, you say, all right, like for instance, we're going to talk about Super Nintendo Day. I'm picking Super Nintendo. I'm going to start collecting. I'm going to put 10 games on my shelf immediately. And I want them to be cool. And I want people who walk in to be like, that's cool. Like, you're a Super Nintendo collector, I can tell, and you've got like a good range of games. Not like, oh, you've got all the Final Fantasy games, I guess you like RPGs. Like, I don't want that. I want like, hey, this is a good selection of games. That's how I'm gonna approach this.
Okay, my list isn't gonna work. I mean, I think your list is
Yeah,
more
your list is too gonna work.
well-rounded than mine, but mine's like 9 platformers, and I think I had the same problem on NES. I love platform games, Johnny. Jumping on stuff is so fun.
Yeah, and I'm trying to divorce myself from the idea of like what I like best. So you'll see games in here that aren't even my favorite versions of a game, or like, you know, if it's a series, but I'm picking the one I think that best represents that series as an idea that would speak to people.
All right. See, I'm not doing that. I'm not collecting for other people. I understand the appeal of getting that Earthbound on your shelf. I have an Earthbound. I don't give a shit about Earthbound. I have it because it's the collector game, but that's not what my list is. My list is basically the 10 best games to collect.
Okay, but they're not though, because there's so many good games for Super Nintendo. You did, like, even within your list, you put some variety in there. So it'll be interesting to talk about, because we're going to be very aligned on some things. Like, I think the same thing happened with like the NES. These top 5 games, these games are the games. So don't even do anything unless you have these games. Save up your money, buy these, and then start to divert from where we are. After that, there's a lot of wiggle room. There's so much good stuff. And then we also, for this, we threw in 3 games to like kind of strive for that were like interesting for the more collector people out there. Like, oh man, what would a Super Nintendo collector who's experienced walk in and be like, oh yeah, that's the good stuff. What did you do over here?
So I think the funny thing about this episode now, 5 years ago, I would have said this episode is entirely pointless because everyone collecting video games knows Super Nintendo like the back of their hand. Not only knows Super Nintendo with the back of their hand, everyone collecting video games already has Super Nintendo games. But now I go on Reddit, especially, I talk about this all the time. There's so many collections that have nothing before PS2. Just starts at DVD. So potentially, this could be an interesting episode for people who haven't collected Super Nintendo at all, because now those people actually exist who could just be getting into Super Nintendo. And this is our shouting to the void. Right? I know there's so many resources on like, the best Super Nintendo games, but this is our shouting to the void of the best Super Nintendo games, quote unquote, kind of, with a focus on make sure you don't miss the poster for this game.
Yeah, I mean, and we're also very experienced collectors. We both have this set. You know, this is my favorite system, and there'll be more episodes like this. And these are also, if you are like, hey, Collector's Quest, I want you to get into the weird stuff. Sorry, this is like a more like we have episodes that are staged for different levels of audience. Sometimes I'm completely happy having an episode that does not speak to anybody, but like our hardcore entrenched like 25 guys on Discord who are into that stuff. But then we have to have episodes where we invite people in to become those weirdos on the Discord with us. So
Johnny, once we did an episode on the Odyssey 2 that spoke to no one but me, and you didn't even show up.
I was out of town, and I was like, you and Stefan should go do an episode. But then that episode still, I think, got more views than the one my Halloween episode I had to do solo. That was so disappointing.
I'm so sorry. I know you love your Halloween.
I do. I don't understand why people don't love this. I talked about weird Halloween games to collect. And, like, really, it's horror genre, which is a popular genre. Come on. Join me, people.
Johnny, do we want to get into arguing about our top 5 Super Nintendo games to start with?
Let's try to argue about these like first 5 or 6 games.
There's some real deep cuts, and I think we have a lot of wiggle room here. Johnny, let's start out both of our lists with so there is this platform game for this series, Mario. Not Mario. It's called Super Mario World, and it's like they made Super Mario Brothers 3 but better. It's crazy that they I don't know if anyone's heard of this game, but I got a price here. It's $1,000 for some reason. It must be pretty rare.
Yeah, it's the peak of this. And hey, the best thing about talking about Super Mario World is we get to talk about how when we did this, so you want to collect Super Nintendo, like we didn't give the best information. We can fix that. I mean, we corrected ourselves the next episode, but tell me about Super Mario World and why it's $1,000, especially for a game that was released with the console.
Okay. Yes. So I'm pretty sure no one needs to know what Super Mario World is, Johnny. It's the best Super Nintendo game. Out of all these games, it's the launch game, and I still think it's probably the best Super Nintendo game.
That's so hard. That's a.
I mean, there's so like
and I'm not even a Mario guy, but I love this game.
Like I'm a big Mario guy,
and I'm not. And I think this game is just. Oh, it's so good. Super Mario World is so good.
So Super Nintendo. When did Super Nintendo come out? I mean, 1991.
92?
But whatever. So it came out in 1991. Doesn't matter exactly when it came out. And the SNES Superset launched with a Super Mario World cart. So literally everyone with a Super Nintendo had Super Mario World up until they released the control deck. What was it called? The core console, whatever they called it. It was the Super Nintendo, and you didn't get Super Mario World. It was the summer birthday gift for poor people. You don't get an extra controller, I don't think. So at the same time they launched that, they launched a standalone complete in box release of the game. But because fucking everyone in their right mind would have bought Super Mario World, either they could still buy the Super Set at that point, which included Super Mario World, but if the person who bought the set that didn't have Super Mario World later down the line realized their stupid ass mistake, they could buy the standalone release of Super Mario World, which because
the control set is what you're talking about.
The control set, yeah, not the control deck. Yeah, but because literally everyone had a super set, or maybe only played RPGs, this release is very, very unusually rare for such a popular Nintendo game. In fact, it is perhaps the most exceptional mainline Nintendo release out of any of their core franchises. Any Mario game, any Zelda game, any Metroid, all of that. This release, I think, is one of the most unique. Because, like, yeah, you could point to stupid Nintendo World releases of Mario Kart 8 on the Wii U, and like, yeah, that's a rare release of fucking Mario Kart 8. But you can get a complete in box Mario Kart 8. It's not like there's a weird special edition, but it's not the thing. If you want to put a Super Mario World on your shelf, you have to get this release, and it's basically $1,000 if you want a pretty nice one.
Yeah, it's either that or you're stuck with the player's choice, which is risen in value too, because people just like, they want a boxed one. So they're like, fine, I guess I'll take the player's choice or even the display box. And so even the cost of those display boxes, which is not usually that high, has gone up in value.
Yeah, I'm going to say do not buy a player's choice. One, because I hate player's choice. Yeah. There is the alternative to buying an $1,000 copy of Super Mario World. It's called buying a Super Nintendo Super Set. Get one of the original Super Sets, no bonus. Make sure it doesn't come with like Super Mario Kart or Mario All-Stars. Get one of the first Super Sets that comes with Super Mario World. And you could find you could look at cartridge revisions, find like the earliest revision of the Super Mario World cartridge. So you want the one that has the locking tab and has Super Mario World written on one line. There's probably other variations, but you want an early cartridge of Super Mario World. And just get the Super Set, because that's the real first thing. It comes in a box. It comes with the fucking console. And it's going to be like a fourth of the price of just buying the game. And arguably, it's the better thing. But it doesn't look as cool.
No. It also doesn't slot onto a shelf with the rest of your games very nicely.
I know.
But you know what it does? It does sit on top of a shelf like a crown that it is.
Yeah. So, yes. I'm so torn between Super Mario World because I think it's so interesting how rare it is for how popular it is. But at the same time, there are people who act like, oh, it's the first release. I got the first print instead of the second print one. This is the real deal. When like, no matter how first it is, it's like more than a year late of a reprint. It's like literally the poor people version of the game who didn't get it with their console. So I'm a little mixed on it, yet I still think like 100% the number one Super Nintendo game. Don't buy your Turtles in Time. Don't buy whatever the cheap cool games are. If you find an ActRaiser, I don't care. Like literally save up $1,000 and make Super Mario World your first Super Nintendo game is my actual recommendation.
I mean, I think that's a pretty strong recommendation. I think there's two other games you could slot in here and be pretty happy with as well.
Okay, you know what? All right, so instead of saying that, because I realize a lot of people aren't going to spend $1,000 on a video game ever. If that's the case, still save up for a Super Nintendo Super Set, which I'm ballparking $250 for a nice complete in box one. I think that's doable for one of the best games ever made.
Yeah, I mean, yes.
Also, just to clarify, just to remind people, there's two versions of, well, technically three versions of the black box Super Mario World. There's the player's choice, don't buy, it's garbage. And then if you look at the red box next to the UPC on the back of the box, if there's 4 lines in that red box, that's the first print. And if there's 3 lines, that's the second print. So go get your 4 lines. If you look at the one on Heritage Auctions that sold for $360,000, it had 3 lines. Sucks to be that guy.
Wah, wah, wah.
Sucks to be that guy, also because there's no way that game is worth that much anymore.
Yeah, I'm also stuck in the 3-line world, and I feel sad about it.
I know. I remember, see, you just checked before we started the show, and I remember when we both went to check our Super Castlevanias, and we both had the Made in Japan one, and it was such a feel-good moment. This was a real womp-womp moment when you had the wrong Super Mario World.
I mean, it's still in a box, and I still have my Super sets, so... And I have a player's choice, and I've got a display box. So I've done the thing. I'm okay. I'll be all right, guys.
All right. Real deep cut there. Super Mario World, Johnny.
And we've managed to talk about it for 15 minutes. Cool.
Johnny, you have another deep cut for us?
Yeah, here's another deep cut. We don't have to talk too much about it. Hey, it's The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past. If you don't think Mario's the best game, you probably point at this one. And guess what? You can buy a pretty good copy for $250-ish. And I'm going to usually put ranges on my prices. So like $250 to $350. Condition, of course, is going to affect this. Yeah, you're going to find it a little cheaper. You could also find it for double this cost if you want like super nice, the tightest edges, no wear. Like, so just understand that this is like an average of not like the middle, but like trending towards middle good, not middle bad.
Yeah, I'd say my prices are like 7, 8 out of 10 copies because that's what I'd be happy with on my shelf. And I realize I'm not going to buy the 9.5 out of 10 like cellophane on it, everything super mint, but I want like a nice copy if I'm buying only 10 Super Nintendo games. Yeah,
in this day and age, back in the day, I just bought like sometimes some of my boxes are like 3s, but today I wouldn't take less than a 7. And if it was a game like Super Mario World and I was buying it today, I would be looking for an 8 or better because it's one of the best games. Same with Zelda. Like, don't fuck around. Just get a nice one. Make sure it's got all the little posters, the hints, everything that you want in there. Please make sure it's in there.
Just to be clear, it has a map poster and it has a top secrets insert.
Yes.
And you want to definitely make sure you have both of those.
Make sure it is complete and then give them your $250 and then just put one of the best games ever on your shelf and be so happy you did it.
I definitely agree. So one thing that just happened, Johnny, is a Call of Duty 4 sold for $52,000 on Heritage Auctions. And I know, like, whoa, okay, yeah, just that happened, by the way. Fucking ridiculous. First thing I did, I went to eBay and I'm like, how much does a copy of Call of Duty 4 cost? It cost fucking $6, Johnny. One of the best and most important first-person shooters of all time. $6.
Agreed.
And I was looking at the listings that were like crispy, super nice condition, fresh manual, and $6. So like even when you say one of the best games ever of all time for $250, I feel like we're being bougie, but like when you get into what the silver age of Nintendo, whatever the Super Nintendo is, like I realize this is what games cost now. There are so much better deals to be had with more modern games.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I just hate how much games cost now, but it's like I'm also not going to recommend buying a $40 complete in box Super Nintendo game on a list like this.
I mean, yeah, just when we're here and we're talking about Super Nintendo games, we've already crossed the threshold into if you just wanted to play this stuff, there's a real easy way to do this. And to play all the best games, get the SNES Classic or the service on the Switch, and then you're good. You're good. But we're talking about people who are wandering. It's like if you were buying Silver Age comics, like you said, you know what you're getting into. So if you're here, you know what you like. This is what to expect if this is the thing you want to be doing.
Johnny, do you have a controversial third pick that could also be the first pick?
I don't. But hey, we both agree. And that's Super Metroid. Hey, did you know Super Metroid is a fantastic game and hard to argue against as like a number 1 game on the system?
Yeah, you might say if we had a game draft for retro games, it was the first game picked by one of the smartest hosts.
And yeah, Yeah, I'll never forgive you, but yes.
So
But, I mean, that's hard because like I love Zelda. I love all three of these games. It's impossible. It's impossible to get it wrong if you pick one of these three games.
yeah. The price of Super Metroid surprised me. I mean, has probably been the case forever, but so Link to the Past, like obviously, like oh, the best Zelda game, everyone loves it, blah blah blah, $250, and then a nice Super Metroid, like $400, almost double Link to the Past, and I don't know why. Like I realize, like, but both are like obviously 10 out of 10 all time great games. Super Metroid maybe a little bit rarer. Are we talking like rarity 2 for Super Metroid, rarity 1 for Link to the Past, like? But still, people love Super Metroid. People love that Metroidvania, Johnny. A term that we should delete from our vocabulary, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I keep saying I mean, I'm trying to get away from it. Yes, I agree with you. We should delete that phrase. It doesn't do enough, and it just describes a bad mashup. It's like, okay, you like adventure games? You meant adventure games.
Johnny,
okay,
it's the prototypical platform adventure game.
Oh, you mean Pitfall 2?
I don't know. There's a website, by the way. I think it's platformadventure.weebly.com. It goes over the entire history of platform adventure game down to like things that clearly don't count, but a crazy town person could. So the guy has not defined what is or isn't a platform adventure game. It's just a list of all these games through all these years, what elements they have. It'll be like, has usable tools, doesn't have a map screen, has one-hit deaths, and it'll be like all these things. You decide for yourself whether or not it counts as part of the genre. It's just giving you everything. And it goes back to Superman on the Atari 2600. No one in their right mind would say Superman is a Metroidvania game, but this guy is saying like, yeah, but when you really think about it, like this might be like the first origin of the genre.
That is...
I love this website is so good, guys. Platformadventure.weebly.com. If you're into the genre, it's super cool.
So there is like, did you know there's kind of a variant for Super Metroid?
No. Are you going to disappoint me? What are you talking about?
So most of them, and I think it's the first print on this, have the only 4 Super Nintendo and like, you know, the classic green, like it's like written in green and it's got like a little arrow, like only 4 arrow Nintendo. And then later on, they did like kind of an uglier version of this, and it's only for Nintendo. And it's got like an orange badge-ish, with like an orange corner. So it's still the arrow, but now only 4, and the arrow is now on the right instead of on the left, and now the only 4 is in black, and that points to the same Nintendo symbol. Or, you know,
okay, yeah. So it almost looks like where the player's choice badge would be, but it's like an orange badge instead. Oh, I didn't realize that. Oh man, Johnny, I don't know which one I have. Oh, you're freaking me out now.
The orange badge is rarer. It shows up far less often. So you probably have the only 4 with the green arrow.
Okay, all right, good. I don't care if it's rare. I still don't want it.
It's uglier. There you go.
There's a nice one here for $800. That's only double the price of what the other one costs. Like, okay, I'm on team. Yes, I don't care if it's the most common version. I want the original version that has the no orange thing in the corner. But like, also at the same time, it's Super Metroid. I would not mind owning both variants of Super Metroid.
I literally have like 3 versions, like 3 copies in my list, and I think the cart is the same. I haven't checked out the cartridge variant, so that's the big version. That's the big variant on the box to tell. And I saved that little fact because I didn't think you knew, so I saved it for you.
Thank you for
to surprise you.
You got my live reaction.
Yeah,
Johnny, I have a question for you.
Sure.
So there's a Player's Choice Super Metroid. I'm gonna say don't buy it because fuck Player's Choice. But is Player's Choice Super Metroid one of the rarer Player's Choice games, or am I making that up? Looking at eBay, it sure feels like I'm making that up because there are a bunch of them, but I don't know if it's just because no one buys them.
I'm unsure on that, honestly.
Okay, then I could be making that up because I know some of the Player's Choice Super Nintendo games are genuinely like uncommon, but there are a few of them on eBay, so this probably isn't one of them. But
I think Donkey Kong 2 and 3 are kind of uncommon in the Player's Choice. I think Super Metroid is at that end of it.
Okay.
And
All
Super
right,
Mario is not uncommon at all. So yeah, it's probably in the rarer ones, but also that might be conflated because even when Super Metroid wasn't that expensive, as a player's choice, that was still kind of expensive because it was a boxed Super Metroid and it was just desirable.
Right. Johnny, our
you got what we're diverging here, right?
Our fourth game that we each independently came up with before putting our list together, again, is the same.
Oh no,
Johnny, it's Super Castlevania 4. Have you heard of it?
Yeah, I have. It's a great game.
Before we get into anything about how Super Castlevania 4 is the best Castlevania game, and we both agree with that, even though it is clearly not the most hardcore and cool choice to pick, we just talked about...
I don't think it's the best Castlevania game.
I know you don't think it is. I think most people don't think it is, except for the ones we are true to our hearts and realize that even though it's like the easiest Castlevania game, it's still the best, and it doesn't matter.
It's still great.
It doesn't matter.
I love Mega Man 2 the best of the Mega Man games because it gives you a wonderful play experience, and I think Super Castlevania does the same thing.
So, okay, what's with that? So, I mean, yes, Mega Man 2 is very popular. It is also, I think, clearly the easiest of any of the Mega Man games I've played.
I don't know. I feel like Mega Man 3 might be easier.
I don't agree.
The boss rush at the end of 2 is rough because you have to play the Mega Man 1 bosses.
Well, in Mega Man 3, you have to play the Mega Man 2 bosses.
Yeah, but Mega Man 1 bosses are harder than Mega Man 2 and 3 bosses.
But like Mega Man 2, I could beat that with just the Buster and like barely using the I don't think I've ever literally done that, but like I barely use like the special weapons or anything just because you could breeze through that fucking game. And I think a lot of the reason people like it is one, because it's popular, but two, because it's very beatable for a popular Nintendo game. Like even Super Mario Brothers, I think most people would have trouble these days beating Super Mario Brothers without continuing. Because I just think people don't have the patience to sit down and like figure out, even if it's just World 8, I think people don't have the patience to figure out World 8 and then play through the game to get up to that point every time they have to figure it out. But Mega Man 2 is very beatable, and it's the most popular Mega Man game. Meanwhile, Super Castlevania is far and away the most approachable Castlevania game. I think anyone can sit down and beat it because it has infinite continues, but it's not even close to the most popular Castlevania game. I think people would say Rondo. I think they say Castlevania 1. I think they say 3. I think they say Symphony of the Night. Yes, Symphony of the Night's very easy. What the fuck? I think like Super Castlevania maybe breaks into like the top 5 of what people call the best Castlevania game.
I don't know. But I think there's a very strong line of people who do think Super Castlevania is just the best.
Johnny, as someone who has held this opinion for a while, the people who think Super Castlevania is the best Castlevania are like the outcasts of the Castlevania fandom.
Okay, so
you are so not cool for having that opinion.
I put Symphony of the Night above it, but then as like a play experience, I probably put that second, and then I start to get into like probably Aria of Sorrow. Like the first, I'm a weirdo in the Castlevania world because the first 3 don't even make my list.
Yeah, you're out of your mind. I mean,
like I think they're great, but like I'm just being delivered the experience I want from Castlevania, a better experience for me that something I like better through different games. Okay. That are still Castlevania.
Super Castlevania, not a launch game, but like right after launch. It was like 1991 still, I think. Like months after launch. And like complete technical showcase for the game. It used all the scaling features. It looks amazing. It sounds amazing. Plays amazing. Obviously, everything's Super Castlevania. We're both putting it in our top 5 Super Nintendo games to buy. We just went over Mario cost $1,000, Zelda $250, which honestly, for how popular Zelda Link to the Past is, I think $250 is it's very clearly worth it. Super Metroid $400, super expensive. Super Castlevania, right up there with all the most classic Super Nintendo games. Like a nice complete in box, Johnny, $130.
So weird. Like so weird what is happening there?
That's the cheapest. It's close to the cheapest game on either of our lists. What a deal!
Yeah, you can't go wrong here. Just go buy that game.
Yeah,
that's my Collector's Quest pick of the week. How come this game is so cheap? Not enough, and there was like a lot available. What is happening? Go buy Super Castlevania.
I mean, it's probably because a lot are available.
Yeah, do not buy the Majesco one. Buy the made in Japan.
Yes. So there's a made in Japan version and a Majesco version, which would be made in Mexico. And so even you'll see a lot of sealed copies, and a lot of the sealed ones will be Majesco. So just ignore all the Majesco versions. Just get a nice made in Japan copy. Forget the Majesco crap. Because we bring things up and don't explain them, if you don't know, Majesco is a company that bought up old IPs when they were like off the market and like not selling anymore, and then they repackaged them as budget releases, and they used like lower quality materials for the box and manual, and they're just the version you don't want. They're re-releases and they're lower quality, and don't deal with them ever.
Yeah, it's really, for me, it's the quality. It's not even that it's like packages, but the quality just deteriorates, and you just get a worse product. Just spend a little more and get something that'll last. But if you find a great deal and you're at like a flea market, don't be like, I'm too good for this. Snap it up if it's $20.
I would be too good for it. I mean, like if it was like $50, I would buy it, but I'm too good for it.
Yeah.
Especially when like the good version's $130. Like,
well, yeah,
there's almost
but
no
that's why
discount.
I said
That would
if
be
it's
worth it
$20
for
or
me.
$50, I'm just saying, like, don't walk away. If it's a super value, don't walk away from it if you're like on the street, and then use the money you get from that and buy the right version.
As far as I know, so the sealed market differentiates between this stuff, but for like complete in box, I think most people still don't care. So I think you could get the made in Japan one for probably essentially the same price as the Majesco one. And I bet the Majesco one's rarer too, because this was like basically a launch title.
And if you want to go buy a fun version of it, go buy the PAL copy, because then it has that silver box and it looks like the rest of the Konami games from back on the NES.
All right, maybe
it's like a fun. That's a fun bonus thing. I'm not saying buy that version above anything else. That's just like some bonus info.
It's a bonus thing. Johnny, here our lists diverge, but we still have one game in common. Do we just want to go over the one game we still have in common?
Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
You put this all the way down at number 6, but I correctly put it at number 5.
Okay. And I don't think you were wrong for having it at 5. Literally, these could change place, and it comes to personal taste. And you could place this higher if this is your genre, but it's Chrono Trigger.
Another
is that a good
cut.
game? Yeah. Never heard of that one. But really, the DS version's the best version, so play that one, right?
Yes, 100% agree. DS version is the best version. Everyone else is 100% wrong. Did they ever remake this on Steam? Maybe there's like some amazing new remake, but I don't care. The DS version
also
is so good.
Buy the first print, which has the poster in it. Don't be a sucker.
No, shut up with don't collect the DS version. Play the DS version. Buy this version.
But if you're gonna play it, you gotta buy it. Get the right version.
Not if you pirate it.
It's true. But
Not
if you're
buy a
pirating DS
cartridge.
games, what are you doing?
No, okay, hold on. We're taking a detour here because I bet Chrono Trigger DS is just like way too expensive for what it is.
It's like $100.
Like Chrono Trigger DS was fucking clearanced on Amazon.
It's $100.
You could buy that for like $15 shipped, and now it's like $100.
No,
Guys,
and that's the version.
DS remake. There's like 100 of them on eBay. What are you doing?
Also, Tyler, that's the version without the poster. If you want the poster, it's usually like $150.
Oh my god. I don't understand. Like, is it because there's a generation that grew up on the DS and loves Chrono Trigger and like this is their version of Chrono Trigger, or do people just love any version of Chrono Trigger? I don't understand.
Well, this gets into the debate, right? Like if you're going to own this is a debate we've been talking about for like when we're getting into the history argument. Which version do you play of a game? Like which version do you want to own? Do you want to own the original? And you're an original guy, but there is an argument to be made for just owning the best version of a game and having that one.
All right. Man, like I'm torn. It sells every day, like multiple copies for basically $100.
You're gonna get. It's a long game. You're gonna get your $100.
Like the thing is, like it's fucking Chrono Trigger. It's so worth it. If it was a DS exclusive, it would be like a $400 game. It's so fucking good.
Yeah.
But just the fact that it's the common re-release version, and even at a 10th of the price of the original, it feels too expensive to me, considering how balls common it is selling every day.
Yeah, but like you said, if it was exclusive or short printed or something,
yeah,
imagine how much it would be.
So the Johnny, let me. This is a tangent from a tangent. A game I want. I dabble in the sealed video game collecting, Johnny, but not like the popular stuff really. A game that's towards the top of my list is Super Monkey Ball on Game Boy, on GameCube. I fucking love Super Monkey Ball. Super Monkey Ball 1, to be clear. And one sold on the Heritage Auction sale, the one with the $50,000 Call of Duty, for like $950 or something. And I'm not gonna pay $1,000 for some shrink wrap on Super Monkey Ball. But then there's the other part of my brain that's like, if Super Monkey Ball was just so rare that it was a $900 game, it would be like, that would be like fucking worth it. It's fucking Super Monkey Ball. It's worth it. But because there is the other version, like the complete box version is like what, $50? It doesn't make any sense to me. So I need like,
imagine if that was the only version you could play. This was the only place you could go play.
If I had to spend the $900, it would be fucking worth it. But the thing is, I don't have to get that version. I could get the $50 version of the game. It's like the opposite of what I'm saying is what's going on with Chrono Trigger.
Yeah. Well,
I don't understand why people are settling for the $100 version over the Super Nintendo version, but I mean, obviously $100 is a lot less than $1,000, but
so here's a game that I don't personally love, but this is like a game people love, like Solo to Robo. You know this game, Red the Hunter?
I mean, do people love it, or do they just love that it's rare and furry?
I don't know, but yeah, I mean, it's all that. But it's like the only place you can kind of really play it right is this DS version. So it just becomes like a $400 DS game, $400 and $500, and maybe more. So that's what happens when you have like a rare exclusive game that some people are interested in collecting.
Hold the phone. We're going on like a tangent from a tangent from a tangent. Solo to Robo. How many copies of Solo to Robo are there? Yeah, a fucking lot. There's I know there are rare DS games that literally are not on eBay. There's like 20 like sealed copies in sold listing. Not all sealed, like half sealed, half complete box. And yeah, it's going for $400. I feel like this is such a game that when it came out, people were calling that this was going to be a rare game, and it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. Because people said this was going to be like the hot game to hoard, I think collectors bought it and it became a thing, and now just because there was hype around it when it came out, that hype hasn't died down, and there may be just as many games on DS that only had 10,000 copies printed or whatever, but because people were always thinking about Solo to Robo, that became one of the games to have.
But it's also published by Xseed. It comes in a big box. It has a soundtrack. So it's got some other things going for it that make it more interesting than, say, like your Shepherd Crossing 2.
Yeah.
Okay. Which you could go spend the same amount of money on.
I don't understand the DS market. I'm just going to stop talking about DS games. Like, I can't believe how much some of these games go for.
At the end of the show, I can't wait. There's some stuff I want to talk to you about with in regards to pricing and barriers of entry in the DS. Plays into that. So.
All right. Oh, by the way, Chrono Trigger. Let's go. Let's collapse back. We're going through the Inception things. We're falling off our chairs. Going back to Chrono Trigger. Johnny, Chrono Trigger is like $1,000. Yep,
or $600. There's a range there of how complete, how nice you want everything. But yeah,
like
you could spend $600.
You're either going to have something really messed up, or almost definitely at $600, you're going to be missing stuff, because Chrono Trigger has 2 posters and a registration card. And I'm not saying the registration card is super rare, but it has become a little bit of a hot item. That was like a 2021 went nuts. Someone paid $500 for a registration card in 2021. I bet they couldn't repeat that sale, but there's some buzz about that registration card because a lot of copies are missing it, and it's fucking Chrono Trigger.
Yeah, that was a stupid sale. Like, I can't get behind that.
Yeah, I would not do that. Like, that's a desperate person who didn't want to have to buy a whole nother $1,000 copy of the game just to steal a registration card out of.
Yep.
Yeah. So all Chrono Triggers are made in Mexico. So don't think there's like a Majesco print. You're getting the right version. It was just a game that was made in Mexico. Is there an alternative? Like, you know what? If these are crazy prices, and yes, $1,000 for Chrono Trigger it's a crazy price. I mean, it's one of the best games ever made. Is it worth it? I don't know. $1,000 is a lot of money to spend on a video game. But for literally everything on Super Nintendo, fuck Super Nintendo. even though Super Famicom prices are way up from what they were in 2016, like Super Famicom games are still balls cheap compared to Super Nintendo games, and they're the original version. So if you're happy playing Chrono Trigger in an emulator or on your SNES Classic, go buy a copy of Chrono Trigger on Super Famicom, complete in box, fucking mint for $20, because Chrono Trigger is like common in America. RPGs are balls common in Japan. That game costs nothing. There are so many mint copies of Chrono Trigger in Japan that cost nothing. So fuck Super Nintendo collecting. Just lord over everyone that you have the original version and go play your stupid DS version, but you'll have on your shelf. They look awesome on a shelf too, because you know what? If you have a Super Famicom Chrono Trigger like kind of facing out, showcased on your shelf, not everyone collects Japanese games, so it's a little bit unique to have that kind of thing, I think.
All right, well, disagree, but all right.
I mean, okay. That said, for Tyler approaching this list of 10 Super Nintendo games, I picked 0 Super Famicom games because there's actually no Super Famicom game I would pick over an original Super Nintendo game.
Yep, and RPGs here still carry a cachet, so yeah, buy the US copy.
Okay. I mean, Johnny, not everyone's going to spend $1,000 on a video game.
No,
I think $20 is a really reasonable alternative.
Look, yes, but this isn't like, hey, you like video games, let me talk to you about collecting the Super Nintendo. I'm approaching this from people who are like, my age or maybe a little younger, and they're like, I'm going to collect Super Nintendo because that shit's awesome. So I'm going to go do that. They already know what they're in for. That's why I'm saying these people know what they're in for. They came to collect Super Nintendo. That's why it's only 10. They don't want 100 games. They don't want 300 games. They don't want a full set or 12,000 games like some dummies on this podcast, me and you. They're just like, I just want a couple of the sweet Super Nintendo games. And if I have to offload them, I probably am not losing too much money or I'm going to make money. So let's get the good stuff.
All right. I understand. Yeah. If you spend $1,000 for Chrono Trigger, you'll probably, especially if you get like a nice one, you'll be able to flip it in like a day and get your money back. So,
yeah. Well, who knows going into 2023 what's going to happen? We'll see. Yeah. Collector's Quest is not a financial show, and we do not give advice on how to spend your money. All right, Tyler, we diverged here. What happened? What's your first divergent pick?
I didn't even know if this game was going to make my list, Johnny, but there's no way it can't. So I put Super Mario World 2, Yoshi's Island. And
I don't even disagree with you.
I didn't even want to put it on the list because I'm like, God, I have 8 platformers in 10 games.
So good.
Super Mario World 2, like the most timeless game of all time. Like, okay, you could say that about Super Mario World. You could say that about a ton of games, but like, it's a fucking work of art. It almost looks like an indie game. That is how good the art is, but it's a fucking Nintendo game. I feel like it's more creative than they've almost ever been in one of their mainline games with the crayon art style. It's nuts. It's so good. I think even in price, like maybe underrated. $250 for a nice.
We've said this before on the show. We've said this, and I got flack for being like, Super Mario World 2 Yoshi's Island doesn't cost enough because this game is amazing. I mean, and more people should buy it. I hate
saying that things are underpriced in the past 3 years because everything's really expensive now.
Right, but I mean, like when you're in a world where you're looking at prices and you're like, that garbage game sold for that, and I can still buy Yoshi's Island. Amazing.
Yeah. Like Super Mario World 2 should be in the fucking Louvre in Paris. It is video games are art. It is everything I want in a video game. And it's like a fucking cool like not hardcore, but it's like a somewhat challenging Mario platformer. Yes, it has Baby Mario. Only reason it's not a 10 out of 10 game to me is Baby Mario's a little bit annoying, not a very exciting theme. Everything else about that game's amazing. It's got like secrets.
I think that put people off. And I don't think enough people challenge themselves to just like play it for a minute and be like, oh, that doesn't matter. This game is great.
Yeah. It's Super Mario World 2. Guys.
Yeah. I don't know if you know about Super Mario World, but they made a sequel and it's awesome.
Yeah.
Come on.
I mean, I think you could also, like, if there's someone who's like just trying to hit the hits, they might be like, oh, you play as Yoshi. That one doesn't really count. Like, guys, it's one of the best games ever made. Again, like every fucking game on this list because it's Super Nintendo.
You know what? I feel like it's just not divisive enough, because if you go to Super Mario 2, right? People love to either super defend that game or hate it a lot. And I still think Super Mario Tour, even though, yes, there's pixel swaps, I still think it's a great game, and I still think it's super important in the Mario lore. And whatever it started out as doesn't really matter, because where it wound up is being a really fun Mario game in the canon of Mario games. But it's divisive, so it made people fight about it. And I think Yoshi's Island 2 just made people go, nah.
I don't...
I just think that Baby Mario made him just like not even... They were like, when Mario 2 came out, everyone was just like, I just played Super Mario Brothers. I have to play Super Mario 2. And it just didn't get that same kind of...
it's kind of their own fault for making it a Yoshi game, but...
Yes, agree.
Yeah. Like, if you... I'm harping on the graphics here, but if you ask me what game has the best graphics, like, in a literal sense, you could think of games, like Red Dead Redemption 2. It's like, oh my god, 4 million artists worked on replicating real life. And 10 years from now, Red Dead Redemption 2 will look like garbage. And, like, Yoshi's Island might literally have the best graphics of any game ever. And I don't know, maybe I could think of other examples, but, like... is probably on the top 20 list and will be forever. It just looks that good.
It's, it's like the Starry Night of video games.
Yes. Oh, exactly. That's exactly what it is. Anyway, and all that, and you didn't even put it on your fucking list.
And I struggled, and then I put too many RPG. I didn't know what to do. It was hard. It was hard to do this.
All right, well, tell us what you got in your 6th spot. This is really your 5th spot.
Yeah, instead of that, I picked Final Fantasy 3. What a terrible choice, right?
Yeah, who's ever played that one?
Yeah.
Final Fantasy 3, wait, isn't that a Famicom game?
Yeah, it is. Also, did you tell people how much Super Mario World?
Yes, $250, because we called it underpriced, quote unquote.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so Final Fantasy 3 or 6, it's not even my favorite, Final Fantasy game on the Super Nintendo. But again, I was going for approachability, and what I think will get more people excited.
You get way more swag for Final Fantasy 3 over 2. Not way more, but you get more swag with 3.
People love... I think technically it's just a better game. I don't think story-wise it's a better game, but technically and like what you can do in the story, in the game is cooler than what you can do in 2, but 2 has a better story. Also, it has like a key moment of my life entwined with it, so I'm never going to be able to disentangle it, so I just didn't put it here. One with Final Fantasy 3. Again, this game, it has 2 posters, which have maps. Just get the nice version, pay between $300 and $600 for this. It's an RPG. Yes, you can, Tyler's argument of like, oh, you can go buy the Famicom version, and then there's 100 ways to play this game. There's 100 ways to play. And the Pixel Remaster, people are saying they like it. Cool, great. There's a lot of different versions, but this is the one that came to America. This is what like the culmination of like RPGs like this into Chrono Trigger was like, kind of peak RPGs, and people fight about which is the better one. But yeah,
I'm just based on enduring legacy and what people have continued to play and talk about, I think Chrono Trigger beats Final Fantasy 3. And
yeah, I think so. I think so. But Final Fantasy is a series that carried on, and Chrono Trigger did not.
I mean, it kind of did.
It got Chrono Cross.
Chrono Cross,
which got like rave reviews. Is a fantastic game. Was just re-released. Had Radical Dreamers on the Satellaview, which was like a text adventure, like in between this and Chrono Cross. Fantastic. It's a great game. It's a great series, but it pretty much stopped there. And they just didn't do anything more with it, which is amazing. And there was like, what is it? Chrono Trigger Echoes of Time was like this big fan sequel that people were making. And that got cease and desisted, but still copies made it out. Like, and they C&D'd them at the very end of their development, which was like real shitty because they knew it was there. I guess maybe they were just like, are these people really going to try this? Let's see how far they go. Anyways, you could say yes, enduring legacy when talking about the Super Nintendo and classic RPGs and prices. But I think if we're talking about a franchise, then Final Fantasy is really the one carried through. I'm curious now, though, if they tried to make a Chrono Cross it because it's just Square Enix, they'd just be like, just name it Final Fantasy, because they love to do that shit. It's the worst.
What are you talking about? If they actually made like a Chrono Trigger sequel but made it
Yeah,
Final
if they were in the early stages of development, they're like, let's make a sequel to Chrono Trigger, and they're like, yeah, just name it Final Fantasy and make it something.
I mean,
different.
they're probably right in that sense that like Final Fantasy has such a bigger fan base right now that it would make more sense to make another stupid let's make this a Final Fantasy 7 spinoff. We don't have enough of those.
Yeah, look, don't get me started on the Final Fantasy thing. Like, there's so many Final Fantasies I like, and it pretty much stops in modern Final Fantasies. The minute you pump gas in a fantasy game, the fantasy is over. So,
okay,
just so you know.
I get all right. Point in my favor, in case anyone doesn't know this. Oh, we're getting up to some real video game trivia here. Like Super Mario Brothers 2 is actually Doki Doki Panic. Part of the selling point of Chrono Trigger is that it was like all the best RPG designers in one place. So it was like the guys who made Final Fantasy 3 and Dragon Quest, and the artist Kira Toriyama of Dragon Ball, and they're just like, yeah, let's get just like all the best people and have them make one game, and it like fucking worked, and they made like the best RPG on the Super Nintendo.
It's
second best.
It's fantastic. I'm not.
I know you're not. It's literally number 6 on your list, but that is part of the appeal of Chrono Trigger, is that it was made by the Dream Team, and they fucking did it. Sometimes the Dream Team comes together and it doesn't work, but this time it absolutely worked.
Yeah, absolutely, they did it. I mean, also just the implications of and what it did to other games and alternate endings and more playability and replay. Like, it was groundbreaking. That was the other thing. It broke new ground, and it changed the genre afterwards. So yeah, I'm not here to disparage Chrono Trigger. It's fantastic.
I don't know. I heard you saying Final Fantasy 3 is one game above it.
I'm talking about sales figures, not whether, like what could sell and like what they thought, not whether I think this is a wonderful, beautiful game and should get all the praise.
All right, you have anything else about Final Fantasy 3, Johnny?
No, I'm done. Stop making me fight about two games that are fantastic.
Mega Man X. Johnny,
Trash.
it's the best Mega Man. I don't care.
Nope. People will tell you it's not even the best X game.
I mean, that I haven't played enough of the Mega Man X games. I haven't played any of the other Mega Man X games. In fact, I'm not a Mega Man fan. I only played Mega Man X a few years ago for the first time. I am such.
So you love this? I'm confused. So you loved this game when you played it. You just played it, and then you were like, "That was enough," even though I know there's a 2 and a 3.
Yes.
Weird.
Yeah. Like, because it's Mega Man. Like, it's. I hate to say it, like, they are all a little bit the same. And I realized, like, yeah, Mega Man 3 adds some mechanics. Mega Man 4 adds some mechanics. Just, like, after I beat a game like that, because I played it so much, like, you got to learn the order. And Mega Man X, you got to, like, go find the secrets. Like, there's a lot to that. And then I'm not in the mood to go through and start from zero on another Mega Man game. So every time I beat a Mega Man game, it's, like, a long time before I play the next one.
Okay.
But yeah, I don't know. I've never been a Mega. It's not like a pure platforming game. It's an action platforming game. It's not my preferred kind of platformer, but it's still so good.
I don't know. I don't know if I just wanted Super Nintendo style, or like if I wanted Nintendo Mega Man games, or maybe I was just Mega Man'd out because they really just beat you to death on the Nintendo with Mega Man games.
Yeah, so I stopped after Mega Man 3 on Nintendo because I didn't like Mega Man 3. So I didn't get to the point of that on Super Nintendo. I never got. Maybe I wouldn't like Mega Man X2 and I would have stopped there, but I never got to that point. I don't know. I know that in general people say they got worse over time. Like, they get more expensive and less people talk about the gameplay as you go to X2 and X3. And then people like X4, and then as it goes on, people like the other X games less.
And then people like all the weird X games on the DS, and they're hundreds of dollars for reasons, and on the GBA.
Yeah, I don't understand. So I'm in the Get the Greg Games Discord, and people are like getting really excited about a sealed Mega Man ZX or ZX. I don't know what it's called. Like, I don't know nothing about that game. I never heard anyone talk about it. Is that just like a game that people a little bit younger than me are like real nostalgic for, because I just never heard anyone ever care about that game.
There's a whole group of Mega Man fans who exist outside of Mega Man on the Nintendo, Super Nintendo, and even the PlayStation. Huh. They came in at the DS and GBA, and that's their Mega Man life.
I am I like the style and gameplay of 8-bit platformers so much more than 16-bit. I always complain about this. I think 16-bit sprites are too big and things are too loosey-goosey. Like, you can't usually tell. Because the art is so much better, it makes it harder to tell where the specific end of a platform is. Like, on an NES, you might have 1 pixel of your foot still on a platform, and it's like, okay, yeah, I'm still on the platform. Whereas you play Donkey Kong Country, and it's like the leaves of a tree rolling off the edge, and you have no idea where that platform actually ends. And I hate that feeling. But despite that, my favorite Castlevania is Super Castlevania, and my favorite Mega Man I've played is Mega Man X. So,
all right.
Anyway, don't buy the Majesco version. Again, you can find cheap Majesco versions. While looking at the prices for the game, I saw a sealed copy, and it was like $900. And I looked at it, I'm like, is this fake? This looks horrible. It's like dim and like shitty. And I'm like, oh, it's not fake. It's just the Majesco version. So make sure you get your made in Japan Mega Man X. $130. What a deal.
Yeah, it's fine.
It's fine. All right. Okay. So I'm picking Mega Man X, one of the most, I'll say one of the most beloved Mega Man games, whatever. Also, another part about Mega Man X, you can go on YouTube and watch YouTube videos about the first level of Mega Man X. It is like the prototypical game that teaches a player how to play without actually having a tutorial. It like puts all the right obstacles in front of you. It forces you to learn how to wall jump. It forces you to learn how to charge shot, and does all these things without ever having a pop-up box or like telling you what to do. You just have to like press the buttons and figure it out. It's like the perfect game for that. Every time I play a modern game and it tells me like, press the A button to do a jump, press the A button twice to do a double jump, I think about how in the early 90s they had Mega Man X and it literally did all this without saying a word. It's like peak game design, and somehow we've forgotten about that. It's just another part I think about a lot with Mega Man X. But
yeah, well, I'll give you that.
That out of the way, tell me what you think is better than Mega Man X, Johnny.
Well, I got a tangent first.
Okay.
And it's just something I want to complain about, really. Okay, so my issue with Mega Man games is the titling of Mega Man games.
Oh my God.
Because some of them run Mega Man, the Mega and the Man together.
What? Tell me one that does that. Out.
Mega Man X Legacy Collection.
I'm Googling it right now. Mega Man is 2 words. And I know this because for a good portion of my life, I did Mega Man 1 word.
Yeah, but
damn. That is like not even close. That is 100% Mega Man 1 word on the Legacy Collection.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yes, they do this, and it's on more than one game, and they'll do it on like promo. They'll do it differently on promo art than for the actual game. Like, I just hate it. I hate it a lot because I'm like, am I supposed to run it together as Mega and then capital M for man, or is it all supposed to be capitalized? It's just a very confusing title with the way the font and the spacing happens. I don't like it.
Mega Space Man. Don't forget it, guys.
I agree that that's how it should be, but you can see that they're within Konami, which is not a bastion, or Capcom, which is not a bastion of like doing things the right way or being consistent, that they fuck this up. So.
Okay, I have the explanation, Johnny, and the explanation is, so it's always been Mega Man, 2 words, but historically, perhaps Mega Man box art has not been the most faithful to what the series actually is.
True.
So maybe them fucking up and whoever made the logo is like, Mega Man's 1 word, right? That's just them continuing the legacy of fucking up Mega Man box art. Alternatively, I bet the actual reason is because Rockman is 1 word in Japan, and they probably have the same person do the Rockman and the Mega Man logos, and they just change it over, and they're like, that's probably 1 word Mega Man, right?
So why is Rockman 1 word and Mega Man is 2 words? Also, some of the divergent, like Mega Man is still alive. No, he's a robot. Like Mega Man presents some confusing things.
Is Mega Man an ethical dilemma? Is it like, is Mega Man a person or is he a robot? If we kill Mega Man,
he's got like a girlfriend. Does that make her like a replicant? And can he convert with humans, or does that make it weird? I don't like where Mega Man is going, is all I'm saying. And his dog clearly isn't a dog. It's just a robot.
Does he love it like a dog? Because he's half robot, though.
I don't know. Can he love? Can he dream? All right,
man, this is like, there's some real sci-fi quandaries in the Mega Man series.
Yes, it's a very confusing. This has been something that has bothered me since my childhood. This is like real problems I've had, and I'm glad I get to voice it here. Some of my trauma. Thank you. Anyways, I'll go on to my dumb game.
Yep.
And maybe you've heard of this, but hey, Super Mario Kart. Did you know that that's a
they
game
made
that
another
people
Mario
like?
Kart after Mario Kart 64?
Yeah, they did. And they put Super in front of it so you would know it was the sequel.
Oh, weird. That makes sense.
Yeah.
They did that for a lot of Super Nintendo games.
Yeah, or they just did the Nintendo thing where they're like, this console's called the Super Nintendo, so put Super in front of everything. And this console's the Nintendo 64, so put 64 behind everything. What a bad trend.
I think it's worse with... this is another tangent, Johnny. Super Mario Brothers, it makes sense because there's a distinction between Mario from Donkey Kong and Mario Bros. And Super Mario. Super Mario is the powered-up version of Mario after he eats a mushroom. Therefore, the Super Mario series, being the mainline platform series, makes a lot of sense. But then you get to games like Super Mario Kart, and is it Super Mario Kart, which I think is correct, or is it Mario Kart, but because it's a Super Nintendo game, has Super in front of it, like Super Metroid or Super Ghouls and Ghosts? Like, which one is it? And because it's that one. Not clear, I don't like it.
Yeah, I don't like it either. But I think, and I'm not sure what they intended at the time, but I think what it wound up being is just Mario Kart, right? Because that's where we wound up.
I agree. Actually, you know what? I agree because Mario doesn't have there's no mushrooms in Super Mario Kart, right? Or there's no mushrooms that make you grow into Super Mario. Therefore, it should just be Mario Kart with the super prefix, not Super Mario Kart. Good talk.
Anyways, no real good info there. Here's what you should know about Super Mario Kart. It's the first Mario Kart. It's a beloved franchise. The best-selling game on the Switch still, I think.
Johnny, last episode, I harped on you for not knowing KK Slider, and I said it was the best-selling Switch game. I was wrong. It's the fucking Mario Kart 8 remake.
Yeah. Yeah.
Still Nintendo's most popular franchise, and if you go back to most of their consoles, Nintendo's most popular franchise about half the time, and the times it's not the best-selling game on a console, it's like top 3 easy.
Yep. Mario Kart. This is a super important game historically. Look, it introduced a lot of the things that happened in Mario Kart later. It is not the prettiest version of Mario Kart. It's not even the funnest version of Mario Kart. It's still super important. And I loved it. Like when I got it, it was still amazing because we didn't have other kart games. Like your racers were F-Zero and then you got Mario Kart and you're like, wow, this is like really weird. And I'm doing it with Mario characters and we're in a kart for some reason. This is awesome. It kind of felt like RC Pro-Am, but like you had Mario character. It was just like, yeah, they found something here and it's awesome, which clearly they did because everything Tyler just talked about. Anyways, an amazing start to a series. You can get one for $200 to $400. And if you want to be like, if you want people to walk in and be like, damn, everybody knows Mario Kart. So there you go.
Thing is, you're not going to get the damn for Super Mario Kart. You're going to get the damn for Mario Kart 64. I think regardless of age even.
I think people are just going to be like, that's a Mario Kart game. Or they're not going to realize it's a Mario Kart game because they're going to look at M and be like, oh, no Mario Kart's here.
For whatever reason, I mean, I could be wrong. I only can get like vibes based on like how much people talk about games, what I see in YouTube videos. Because obviously I'm not talking to every other person who plays and collects old games. I feel like Super Mario Kart is one of these Super Nintendo games like Super Mario World 2 and like Super Punch-Out would be another one. Where, yes, some of the most popular games of all time. People obviously go back and play these games and love them, but they are not on the level of the Super Metroids, Mario Worlds, Link to the Past, Chrono Trigger. They're games that people look at and appreciate and then probably go to an alternative a lot of the time. So like Super Punch-Out, almost everyone goes to Mike Tyson's Punch-Out instead. Even though Super Punch-Out, like, arguably better in a lot of ways mechanically. Super Mario Kart, the fucking first Mario Kart, the foundation of Nintendo's maybe most popular franchise. I mean, literally their most popular franchise. Like, the game investors talk about Super Mario World or Super Mario Brothers like Super Mario is the most popular thing. It's fucking not. Super Mario Kart is the foundation of Nintendo's most popular franchise. But like people go to Mario Kart 64 instead. And with Mario World 2, people would just go to Mario World instead. It's one of these games that I think people kind of shrug aside just a little bit.
They do, 100%. But also, as someone who loves the original, this should be your jam.
It should be my jam?
Yeah, you should be like,
I don't like kart racers. Super Mario Kart's fine. I like Super Mario Kart. Give me F-Zero any day.
No, what I'm saying though, like as a collectible.
Oh, as a collector, yeah. I need a complete Super Mario Kart just for the historical importance of it, obviously.
Yeah,
yes.
And that's what I'm saying.
Oh, it's definitely my jam in that sense. Yes.
Yeah. All right, that's it. That was my point. Like, if I'm taking, like, if you put Super Mario Kart and Mario Kart 64 in front of me and say collect one, I'm collecting Super Mario Kart because it's the original. Also, I love Super Nintendo, and I got a shit ton of bias about my feelings about the Super Nintendo. Also, my feelings about the N64. But you know, the more important game, Super Mario Kart.
All right, Johnny. My next pick is my variety pick, and by variety, I mean it's another fucking action platform game. I tried so hard to fit like NHL 94, but I'd rather have the Sega CD version. Kirby's Dream Course, but like there's no way Kirby's Dream Course is in my top 10. Sim City, a simulation game, like that was really close to making my list. Star Fox, another foundational Nintendo thing, but like Star Fox kind of sucks.
I mean, arguably, I think Star Fox should maybe be here, but also
Star Fox sucked. Like literally, Star Fox 64 is the exact same game, but 100 times better. So fuck Star Fox. Like Super Bomberman 2 would have been a good pick. That's a game that has like, there's no game like Super Bomberman 2 besides the other Super Bomberman games.
Could put a Kirby game in there.
Yeah, it's so unique. But yeah, like Kirby's another platformer. Despite all that, I'm picking just another fucking platformer. Super Ghouls and Ghosts. Literally the reason this is on my list is because it's another horror game, which is super fucking cool. And because Castlevania 4 is too easy, this is my pick for a hard game that has the action platforming horror theme. That is the only reason it's on my list.
And you got to love it too, because it's like much smaller sprites. Like you don't like the action platformer big sprites, and this like returns you to smaller sprites. And
anyway, $175. So actually, this was definitely, I mean, of the games we're talking about, the most popular common games on the fucking Super Nintendo. I think this was the quote unquote rarest game. There weren't that many sales for this. It could just be that people don't buy them all the time, but I'm guessing this would be in the range of like $175 for a nice complete box.
Yeah, I mean, it's a weird series. Look, I think it's great, but it's a weird series because you've got Ghosts and Goblins and then Ghouls and Ghosts, and you've got it on the Genesis and the Nintendo. It's all over. It's an all over, and the arcade. So I just think it's like a confusing series for people to follow along with without like checking. So I think that kind of the lack of consistency in the brand hurts it a little bit, but it's also an awesome game. Like this is a much better experience than playing it on the Nintendo.
See, I think going back to what you said, I think in terms of value for swag, this is probably the worst value on our list, even though it is one of the cheaper games on our list. Literally, for less money, you can get Ghosts and Goblins, a kind of bad game that everyone loves more, or at least everyone recognizes and appreciates more than Super Ghouls and Ghosts.
Agree. Yeah, that's correct. 100%, you nailed it.
I mean, that's it. It's literally just there because it's hard.
That's it. All right. So here's the gaudiest thing I could think to put on here. But if you wanted to like show off and really get people's attention, and I'm not recommending you do this. This is like literally could have been in my aspirational ones. And I debated even keeping it on here multiple times, but it is a game I like. And I do lean towards RPGs. So I put Earthbound on here just to be like, yeah, rare. Yeah. I mean, it's 100% a meme, but if you ask people, they're like, do you have Earthbound? Or, hey, oh my God, they've got Earthbound. It's just like, it has, for some reason, it has more cred than it deserves. But it's not a bad game. Like, it's been memed a lot, but Earthbound is a weird, good game. I like the narrative in it. It's fun. It's out there. It's maybe a little too long. And it's not even the first of the series. But yeah, Earthbound, what do you do? Comes in a sweet big box. There's no manual. It comes with a guide. That guide should have scratch and sniffs at the back. A lot of times those are pulled out. The insert is a thing to know about. A lot of times, for some reason, I don't know what people did with the box, where they kept the box and the game and the guide, which all fit in there perfectly. And then they're like, this dumb insert, let's toss this thing out.
I did that with my copy of Pokemon Stadium as a kid. It was a nice sturdy box, so I just like stored toys in it. I threw out the insert.
Yeah, so confusing. But yeah, I guess that's a good explanation. But there's repro inserts all over the place now. So, and I don't think I don't think it should affect the value of the game too much. And I don't know how easy it is to tell because I've never really looked at the repro insert. But yes, there are repro inserts for Earthbound. Does that matter? Something you're never going to look at.
Like the cardboard insert, not like a piece of paper. Yes. And there are repros of those too, obviously. It's fucking Earthbound. But just like the cardboard. It's like worthless cardboard. But yeah.
Yep. It only comes in this big box. And with the exception that there is a for display only small box, or I say small box, but regular size Super Nintendo box that you can get. Much in the same vein as, Super Mario World. And for some reason, even those were faked a lot, so just be careful. Those used to be like nothing. They used to be like $20 to $30, but I think even those boxes got expensive now. But Earthbound is an expensive game, and we were talking about this, and I have not looked at Earthbound prices in a long time. There's the rise and fall of Earthbound prices as when it was released on the Wii, and people thought that would crash the market, and then it did, and then it rose back up, and then everything else that's happened in the video game market. But I was still shocked to see Earthbound being over $2,000 all day long, and the nicer ones getting into the $3,000 and $4,000. You can get in on an Earthbound at like $2,000, but your quality is going to be a little deficient, and you could spend up to $5,000, I guess, if you wanted. But yeah, it's wild to me.
I mean, I realize obviously a much popular game, but it's not like Earthbounds don't come up. There's probably more Earthbounds than there are Super Ghouls and Ghosts in like nice complete box condition right now on eBay.
Yeah, but it has that it factor, that attention factor.
It has more than the it factor.
Yeah.
It is like I've played a little bit of Earthbound. I have not beaten Earthbound. I'm not an Earthbound super fan. But like it almost goes all the way around to me. So it is, I think there's this overrated sense to it. And again, haven't played the game, haven't beat the game. I played a little bit, whatever. It gets put on this pedestal of like, it's the Super Nintendo game. It's the rarest. It's the coolest Super Nintendo game to have. And then there's so many people who are like, I'm sorry, like clearly everyone who is like super hyped and shit about Earthbound and all these comments, like not every one of these people has played and is excited about Earthbound. They're just excited about the prospect of having a $2,000 video game on their shelf. Yep. And like, it's so funny that it's like this meme that is like, so it's, I mean, compared to every other RPG on Super Nintendo, fucking Chrono Trigger and Final Fantasy III. Chrono Trigger has gone up to $1,000, like one of the most beloved RPGs of all time, enduring legacy, made by some of the most famous RPG designers ever. The Final Fantasy III, like when people think retro Final Fantasy games, they think Final Fantasy 1, 6, and 7. Like that's one of those games that's right up in there. That's $600. And then Earthbound is basically a fucking meme that could sell for like $2,000 to $4,000. And it's so funny that like forever. I'm almost back in. Like I'm almost back in thinking like, yeah, all right, this is like Bitcoin. Everyone just pile in on this, and it's just funny that we have pushed up this price so much.
Yep. Anyways, Earthbound. That's it. There's no more to say about Earthbound. You know what it is because everybody's heard of Earthbound.
Go get Mother on Famicom, Johnny. Really hard to find. Not really hard, but kind of hard to find like a real nice
Mother 2.
Mother.
Right. Get Mother and Mother 2.
Yeah, Mother 2 is easy. Mother 2 is worthless. You want one of those worthless Super Nintendo RPGs? Yeah, Mother 2.
Yeah. Get Mother 3 on your GBA.
Yep. That one's a little
There's
bit
also a
too.
Mother 1 and 2 compilation on the GBA.
No, don't get that.
In Japan.
Stop that. We want originals, no re-releases.
Just saying, if you're collecting Mother games, there's not that many or Earthbound games. You might as well go get all the dumb stuff.
All right, I guess. I mean, but there's also there's consoles. There's like a Mother 3 GBA console in Japan, I think.
Dude, when is the Mother trilogy coming to the Switch? That's what I want to know. How come they haven't cashed in that's golden
nuts.
cow yet?
Oh, CQ Spec Pick. This has to be one of those things. Like Square was keeping in their back pocket, like Final Fantasy VII Remake. They're like, we're going to make this and it's going to make $1 billion. And they're fucking milking it. They're like, we're going to make multiple of them because we know it's going to make us $1 billion. Nintendo has in their back pocket Mother 3. They know when they release a translated Mother 3, and at this point it's going to be like a 3D remake or something, they're going to re-release that and everyone's going to fucking buy that. When that happens, original copies of Mother 3 are going to 50% increase in price. So go buy a copy of Mother 3 right now, CQ Spec Pick.
All right.
Johnny, time for the cheapest game on my list. Actually, the cheapest game maybe, cheapest game on my list at least. You have another cheap one coming up. Donkey Kong Country 2. I would not have expected this to be the cheapest game, but I guess there's a lot of bangers here. I don't know, it's another fucking platform game. And you know what? I'm not even the biggest Donkey Kong Country fan, but I didn't replay 2 recently, but I replayed Donkey Kong Country 1 recently, I think last year. And in the back of my mind, I don't like Donkey Kong Country because of that loosey-goosey platforming with 16-bit that I was talking about. And I could not believe how much I enjoyed playing through Donkey Kong Country again. Like, that game is so good, and Donkey Kong Country 2 is fucking better. So, Donkey Kong Country 2, making my list. Yes, it's another fucking platform game. There's not a lot that hasn't been said about platformers on the Super Nintendo, but it is $125. Just buy Donkey Kong Country 2. I think it did that. Is that on the Super Nintendo Classic? I swear to God, like all these games are on the Super Nintendo Classic.
Yeah, I think they're all on it. Or maybe 1 and 2 and 3 wasn't. I think they put all 3 of them on there.
Really?
I don't know because I don't like Donkey Kong.
Okay. Donkey Kong Country 2 is not on the Super Nintendo Classic. They put Donkey Kong Country 1, I think. That's like the wrong choice. So they did this with the PlayStation Classic too. And okay, I know. People want to play the first one. They don't want to start in the middle of a series. But they did things like put on Twisted Metal. When Twisted Metal 2 it's just a better game. The stupid marketing people are just like, but people don't want just Twisted Metal 2. They just want to see the name Twisted Metal. No one actually wants to play these games. They just want to read the list, and it's going to look weird to have the 2 without the 1. So just do what Sega does and give us everything.
But you know what they did also on the Super Nintendo Classic? They put 2 Kirby games, and it's not the Kirby games I would pick. It's Kirby Superstar, and then also Dream Course. I would have expected Dreamland 3 to be in there.
I mean, it's probably just because that game wasn't super popular. But it's weird that they picked Superstar over it. Yeah, that is a little bit weird. Maybe people just think Superstar is a better value just because it's got all these mini games. I don't know. I mean, I guess it is a more popular game.
Hey, you want to play all the games on this list we just talked about, pretty much, and some other bangers? Go buy a Super Nintendo Classic.
Well, you can't get Donkey Kong Country 2. You know what? Does that make Donkey Kong Country 2 more valuable? Hasn't been re-released. Hey, it's probably on the Switch. Everything's on the fucking Switch. But
hey, you want to know what else isn't on this list? No, I think all my games are on there.
What's up?
Oh, are you done talking about Donkey Kong Country 2?
Nothing to say.
Okay, so my next pick, super cheap pick, Street Fighter 2 Turbo. There are a myriad of Street Fighter games on the Super Nintendo that you can pick from. Myriad. There's 4, right? You got the World Warriors, which is fine. It's the original, 8 Warriors. It's a little limited though. And then you got Street Fighter 2 Turbo, which I think sits perfectly in there. It's just, you have more warriors. You don't have too many extras that don't matter. They refined it. You don't have sound clipping and bad sound. I think it's just the version to get. So, I mean, you might have other opinions, but
I don't know. I might have another opinion. I don't know.
Do you have are you like, what are you, one of the weird Street Fighter Alpha 2 guys?
No, definitely not. I don't know, like, if I'm just buying this for my shelf, because, like, to be honest, if I'm playing Street Fighter 2, I'm probably playing, like, the arcade version. It could be on, like, a PlayStation, or it could just be in MAME. So if I get it just for my shelf, I might just want plain old Street Fighter 2. And I realize that, like, Street Fighter 2 Turbo is, like, objectively the better game. It's the Donkey Kong Country 2 versus Donkey Kong Country argument, like, all over. Like, we just went through this, and I picked the better game, but for some reason, Street Fighter... It could just be because I know I'm not going to play either of these, where I'm going to play Donkey Kong Country 2, but I'm never going to play a Street Fighter 2 on Super Nintendo. I realize it's a good port of the game. I'm still never going to play it. So I'm going to get the original Street Fighter 2.
I think the original, it only has redemption in the fact that it's the original. You could try to make an argument for Super Street Fighter 2, the new challengers. It has more characters, but it also has like bad sound, and it's got some stuff that is going wrong. or you could just, just play Street Fighter 2 Turbo. It's great. And don't like Street Fighter 2 Alpha, probably the most collectible game of the Street Fighters because it came out like towards the end of life of the console and not many people bought it. So, I mean, comparatively to the other Street Fighters. But,
I remember having trouble even finding a nice cartridge of that game.
It's still a bit of a pain in the ass. I struggle too. But yeah, Turbo is a nice pick that sits in the middle and does all the things well and suffering none of the bullshit. Like my only thing is because I love bigger rosters, so like not having that 16-person roster and only having the 12 hurts a little, but not too bad. Especially because what's added is not.
I mean, Johnny, you just have Ken and like 80% of the casual Street Fighter audience is fine. You don't need any of those other guys.
Yeah, I mean, you got Ryu, Chun-Li, cool, you did it.
Yeah.
And yeah, Guile, all right. You got those weirdo Blanca fans, but all right, do what you will.
Those fucking weirdos.
Anyways, $50. You can find a copy of this game for $50. You can spend as much as $200. Yeah, Street Fighter. It's Street Fighter. If you're into this kind of thing, this is not. I'm not advocating that this is the best game. I have a list of probably 30 games. If I was going to play, I would definitely pick above this game. But I think if you're presenting it to a wide audience, your collection, and you want to fill in some of those gaps, especially because I put so many RPGs on there, I want to spread it out a little bit. Street Fighter 2 makes my cut.
All right. Yeah, we have different philosophies here.
We do. That's fine.
I think there would be, if for that wide audience argument, I think there's just as many people who would just look at the Street Fighter 2 box art and be like, oh yeah, Street Fighter, Blanca. So
I know, but
Turbo
it's also
doesn't add that much. What's the box art of Street Fighter 2 versus Street Fighter? Because Street Fighter 2 has Blanca, right? And who else is on that box?
And then Chun-Li, Turbo has
Ryu.
E-Honda.
And who's on Turbo?
E-Honda.
Oh, fucking like E-Honda. Fuck off. The Street Fighter 2 box is way cooler than Turbo. Fuck E-Honda. Fuck you, E-Honda people.
I know, but if you're gonna wind up playing it, then the better version is Turbo.
Yeah, but I'm just going for like the people walk into my room and they want to see some Street Fighter characters.
Look, you got. Didn't you notice? Like maybe you missed it on the box, but it's pretty subtle. But Sagat is there too. One of those characters people know instantly. They didn't take their 2 most popular characters or of their 4 most popular characters. They're like, let's put B tier characters on there. What a mistake.
All right.
I agree with you about the box art.
Okay. Johnny, we're finally we're like getting to pick number 10 on our list. It feels like we almost have like reign to choose maybe a slightly more interesting thing that isn't the most obvious pick in the world. But I still feel like we don't get there at the end of our list. But
no,
Contra 3 is rounding out the end of my list.
I think that's a pick that people expect to see there, so I don't think that's wrong.
I think at my friend's house, I mostly played Super Nintendo with my friend Scott, and I think we probably played mostly Kirby's Dream Course, Wordtris, the fucking puzzle game Wordtris, and Contra 3 more than everything. Every fucking time I was over his house, we played Contra 3. Of all these games, like all these games are crazy 8-bit to 16-bit conversions, but just like the speed at which things go in Contra 3 compared to the original, and the original is already a super badass game. Contra 3 is super cool, and it's got like the bosses with like just a giant fucking scaled sprites. What a goddamn badass game. And it's got like really good simultaneous multiplayer. Like Contra's a little bit bullshit sometimes, like going up the waterfall level, you got to make sure like not to kill your guy. And like you can get bullets lost on the screen because there's so much going on in Contra. Contra 3 I think plays really well, 2 people. Maybe I'm just forgetting how hard it was at the later level because I played this game when I was like 13 years old and we'd probably never beat it. Anyway, Contra 3, $200. I don't know.
Not a controversial
that's like a medium price for me. Like, I don't think Contra 3 has a lot of swag because it's got badass box art and it's fucking Contra and it's fucking awesome. But I don't think it has as much swag as like a first party Nintendo game.
No, but I think you pull in some of those people who are less familiar with the Super Nintendo and familiar with the Nintendo. They're like, oh shit, Contra. So I think you get some overlap there.
Okay. What was I gonna say? Is there a Majesco version of this game? So there's the Majesco white label re-release, and like that's kind of cool. I guess you might want that, but if there's a regular Majesco version, Don't get that. Get the first print. It's got a poster and a registration card. Get that made in Japan. Contra 3.
All right, I've got a really shocking pick here that no one's ever heard of. Are you ready?
Oh my god, we're gonna go for another deep cut. Okay, wait, is it Uniracers?
Ooh, that's a good game, but no.
No, it's not. John, well, we're putting your pick on pause. If I look at a top 20 Super Nintendo games and fucking Uniracers is on it, fuck off. Have you even played Uniracers, whoever's writing this list? Uniracers is a racing game where you can't see what the fuck is in front of you. It's
like
fast,
really riding a unicycle.
It's exciting, but if you don't know, if you haven't memorized every fucking inch of the map, it's impossible. F-Zero is super fast, and you could see what's coming, so it's really fun. All right, I hate Uniracers.
Well, I went with another U game. I went with Utopia.
Okay, yeah, perfect. Utopia.
Or Vortex.
Vortex, yeah, I mean, it's always on people's list. People are always talking about Vortex for the Super Nintendo.
Or, you know what? I want to go with the movie tie-in here. Let's go with Warlock.
Oh, Beware the Ultimate Evil Warlock?
Yeah, that one. You did it. What a dumb game. No, obviously I went with Turtles in Time because people love them Ninja Turtles, and you can get people to be like, oh shit, Turtles! And that's all I'm going for. Again, I don't think this game it's not my pick. I have other games, like if it was my list of games that I want to own the most because I love them and I will play them, that's a different list. This is collecting and getting attention, posting it on them Instagram for the likes. Turtles in Time is doing that for me. And there is a couple different versions of the box, of the manual. So there's a version where the manual comes, like in the first print, add fruit snacks. It says like coupon for fruit snacks inside.
On the front of the manual?
Yep, on the front of the manual in a gaudy, ugly little oval label. I think it's like silver.
Well, you're not going to open the box, so just make sure you get the good manual.
Yeah, get the good manual. I'm not sure if there's a difference in the box, though. Like, there's probably there could be like a warranty difference or fiber content. I don't know because I didn't look into it enough. But I think the one that mentioned the fruit snacks is interesting because I love seeing, like, I used to hate that kind of stuff, but there's a certain charm in this one having the fruit snacks and then Turtles 2 on NES having the pizza thing. I like kind of carries that legacy for me, which makes me like it. So, you can find this game for not too much money. I mean, it's still expensive, $130 to as much as $300 for this to get like a pretty good copy. So yeah, go buy Turtles in Time and play a game with your friends. That was the other thing I went with that you kind of did. It's like, what's a game I can play with my friends? Here it is, Turtles in Time.
It is, and I'm not going to call Turtles in Time a bad game because I don't like the beat 'em up genre at all. But I'll put that towards the top of the games I like. But looking at the rest of these games, Johnny, if you sit down to play Castlevania or Chrono Trigger or Metroid, like you are sitting there for hours, you are getting super invested in an experience that's going to stick with you for the rest of your life, Johnny. And
there's a different type of player that just wants to sit down and play Turtles in Time.
I agree there's a different type of player, but Turtles in Time has such a cachet around it. And I feel like it's the collective experience of everyone. Like, I actually don't know how popular this was at home because I didn't know anyone who had Turtles in Time. But I played it in the arcade, obviously. And so my memories of Turtles in Time, I probably played it, like literally played it 4 times in my life. And like not even to the end, like playing on quarters. So I played it as many times as I had money. And then like I played it recently at like barcades and stuff. Like, but I'm just talking about my memories as a kid. And then everyone's like, have people played this game for hours and hours and hours? Like they have like a Super Mario game or a Castlevania game? Or is it just like people remember like, yeah, I sat with my friends that one time and we played through Turtles.
Yeah, but if it was a good experience, and that's like, we're talking about what generates nostalgia, right?
I know.
And those moments with your friends, and you're thinking back to a time in your life which was good and simple, and you're going to remember that moment, and which is why Turtles in Time is the best pick.
I just feel like, okay, I understand the nostalgia part, but like, I just had this experience again with the Shredder's Revenge, whatever the new one is. Like,
yeah,
all my friends
also,
bought the
Turtles
game.
are in right
We
now.
played it. once. It took us an hour, and we will never play that game again. There's no value to us ever going back to that.
Look at all the people who bought Shredder's Revenge. What did they buy Shredder's Revenge for? To recreate the experience they had with Turtles in Time.
I mean, yes, exactly. All right.
Yeah, and you bought into it and sat down on a couch with those people to have them.
I got pulled into it. I wasn't like, let's play Shredder's Revenge. I had like six of my friends who were like, oh yeah, it's on Game Pass, so I had to do it.
Yeah, but no one put a gun to you and said you have to stay here. They bet it, and you're like, yeah, I'm buying into this. I guess I'm in. You didn't like put up a fight.
All right.
So you were in, and you were helping recreate that moment, and good for you. Why take that away from your friends who were excited for that?
Johnny, Shredder's Revenge, it's not long. It's like a little bit long for a beat 'em up. I think the idea was that they didn't want to make it arcade length. Like, what's an arcade beat 'em up going to be, like 45 minutes long? They figured that would be too short to sell a full product, even though there's no problem with having a short game. If you have a more focused experience, that makes your game better. But what's Shredder's Revenge? It's maybe like 2 hours long. I started with like 6 to 8 people, and like half of them dropped out by the end. They literally couldn't sit down for 2 hours and play a game with infinite continues. Fucking,
well, they probably
you're calling me like a trooper? Like, my fucking friends couldn't even play the full game. Fucking
but
assholes.
You are hardcore, and they are not
hardcore. I played through a 2-hour game with infinite continues.
Yeah, but you also grind RuneScape like a fucking maniac. So of course you've got the discipline to sit there.
Man, I've been not playing RuneScape, like definitely like improved quality in my life. Like, I would not be able to do like the video game history challenge website we're working on if I was playing RuneScape. Like, I literally am able to do more things in my life by not playing an MMO. It's so good. Don't play MMOs, guys. And then on the other hand, you know, maybe if I just gave up on everything else in life, maybe I'd just be happy getting some dopamine from RuneScape and ignoring everything going on around me. I don't know.
Maybe. But who knows? Don't do that. That sounds awful.
It does.
Okay. Well, that's it. We did it. We got through 10. Now we got like 3 games, like weird, we're calling them strive picks, but like weird things if you want to impress. For me, it's like if I want to impress collectors, like the hardest of the hardcore collectors. And Tyler, I don't know what your attack was.
Yeah, I don't know. We have like, we're going through these lists and like we have a little bit different philosophies here. My games are like, all right, I got the 10 best Super Nintendo games, quote unquote. That's my collection of Super Nintendo. And then I want like 3 real collectory picks that are just going to be like, but it's not like to show off. It's just like what I think is the most interesting of the games that I maybe like that are not the exciting.
Our criteria is like pretty close.
It's close, but it's not the exact same. Because like, all right, let me give my first pick. Super 3D Noah's Ark. I think there is some collector swag factor to that, but I think most people are not going to be like, whoa, it's Super 3D Noah's Ark.
But they are going to go, what is this? What is this weird shaped game?
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting thing. The funny part is we have these as the Strive games. Super 3D Noah's Ark complete in box. First of all, there's more copies on eBay than I would have thought. Like, it's the single unlicensed Super Nintendo game, which is part of what makes it interesting. But also the fact that it's a first-person shooter Bible game, which is a genre, by the way. There's multiple first-person shooter Bible games, which is excellent.
Which is hilarious. It also, to me, is like, yep, that checks out.
But yeah, since it's the only unlicensed game and it's got a crazy theme, $350.
Pretty cheap.
It's not that rare. That feels like, all right, for the one game, like it's clearly like this super unique thing. That's cheaper than half the games on our list. And a lot of the games on our list are the most common games on the system.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing you really need to look out for on this is not getting the Pico Interactive, which is a real re-release of this game, but they changed the box and stuff.
Yeah. So the Pico Interactive one is just a regular Super Nintendo cartridge. So Pico Interactive is a company. They bought out the Wisdom Tree IP, and they make some licensed re-releases of like Wisdom Tree and Color Dreams games and things like that. So their version's a regular Super Nintendo cart. The original version of Super 3D Noah's Ark has a lock-on tab on the top of it because you have to put a real Super Nintendo game on the top to boot the unlicensed game. Just like Jesus would have wanted. Jesus didn't want you to pay licensing fees. because a rich man can't get into heaven, eye of a needle, you know? Huh? I'm pretty sure I said that correctly.
All right. Well, I'm going to take your word for it, and let's move on.
Okay. Your pick is crazy.
My pick is crazy, but this is like, you're at the good stuff level. You've gone hard. And you're like, for me, this is the stuff that when people are already interested, that you want to pull off the shelf because they're interesting and talk to them about them. That's maybe that's how I'm approaching it.
Okay.
So yeah, like there's like a conversation piece. Rendering Ranger R2, because it's amazing and it's rare and exclusive to Japan, and the even Limited Run did a reprint of this in English. I was like, you should buy that, because what an interesting game to go get. And it's not like this, not super obscure. People have heard of this game before, but it's usually outside of your budget. You can find it card only for like $900. We start to find it in the box. I've seen them for $2,000, but $4,000 is like what's available on eBay. They don't sell that often, and they're not for sale that often when they come up. So
it is definitely a very rare game. There's a lot of bootlegs of it, and it's one of those games where it's pretty hard to tell a bootleg if you don't have it in your hand. Like if you wanted to go buy a Rendering Ranger, like you probably can't find one. So it is that kind of game. If you haven't played it, yeah, it's like half shooter, half action platformer. So like it's almost like Contra 3 mixed with a shooter. And then it's got like scrolling in all directions. It's got the huge sprites. It's got the super fast firing bullets. I think it was the last released Super Famicom game. Is that true? If it's not last, it's like second to last.
It's such a neat game.
It's really cool.
It's really cool. Like,
I don't know if it's $4,000 cool, but like
I don't think so. I don't have it, but it's a game 100%. Yeah, it's a game I would like to own. You know, I wish I had the original, but spending $4,000 on that feels extreme.
Yeah, one of Limited Run Games' best gets, and I just didn't buy it. But I do think it's one of their best recent releases.
Hey, aren't they having like a Black Friday pop-up? I bet you can go in there and get it.
Oh, dude, 100%. I'm going to go to the Limited Run Games store. They're going to have like 10 of these.
Yeah, it may not be out yet. I'm not sure.
It's not
if it's out, you're going to be able to get it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, just side note, like going to the Limited Run Games store, like I couldn't believe like how much of like not their A-list stuff. Like obviously you can't go and buy a Shantae Pirate's Curse or like a Celeste, but like even like A- stuff, B+ stuff, it's just like in stock at the store. So I am not worried about any of the pre-order Limited Run Game stuff.
What's next on your list? You got a fun one next.
The single Super Famicom game that made the list. And I hate putting this on here. I feel like I'm hyping up my own rare stuff, but I literally bought it because I think it's one of the coolest Super Famicom things.
I mean, Rendering Ranger is Famicom. Super Famicom.
Yeah, this is the only one on my list, though.
On your list.
You have 2 Super Famicom games. I have 1. How crazy is that?
No.
No. Did that one come out in Europe? Or your next one?
It did.
Okay. V-Jump Chrono Trigger. So the magazine V-Jump, they had a contest for free copies of Chrono Trigger, and 2,000 people won a copy of Chrono Trigger. I think it was like it was either like right when the game released. It was similar to like Charamara Zelda, where it was like an early release kind of Chrono Trigger. I don't know if this was like if you got it actually before the release of the game. You probably didn't. But what you did get, if you won this contest, 2,000 people won this contest, it comes in like a copper toned box instead of the normal white Chrono Trigger Super Famicom box. Literally, the only difference is like the packaging, and I think the sticker is different. But like that's it. It's the same fucking game, just in like special edition packaging. And it costs like $750 to $1,000. But I don't care because it's Chrono Trigger and I want the coolest version of Chrono Trigger. And in my opinion, this is the coolest version of Chrono Trigger. The alternative to this, I think, would be there's a sample ROM version of Chrono Trigger. That's like the store demo. And for whatever reason, these Squaresoft store demos come complete in box. And like they're pretty gettable complete in box. So there's Chrono Trigger, there's Seiken Densetsu 3, and there's Romancing Saga 3. And all 3 of those demos come complete in box and are like kind of gettable. I think the demo for Chrono Trigger is a little more common, and it's actually probably in a literal sense less common. It's a little cheaper, I think, than the V-Jump one. But either one of those is a cool Chrono Trigger thing, I think. And also, Stefan really wants one of these and doesn't have it. And it feels good to have something that Stefan doesn't, because Stefan has so much stuff.
Well, he barely has any.
Well, he doesn't have anything anymore, but he could have anything he wants, because he has a lot of capital in value in his collection that he could turn into whatever he wants.
Yes, true.
But he still doesn't have this.
You want to know how good Chrono Trigger is? It made the list twice.
It sure did, yeah.
That's how good Chrono Trigger is. All right. So, have you ever heard of the game Fireman?
I have not heard of Fireman. I've heard of The Fireman.
The Fireman. Yes, you are correct. It is The Fireman.
Yeah.
You've heard of this? By Human Entertainment?
By Human Entertainment. You play as a fireman and you put out fires.
Yeah.
I'm going to call it the best firefighting game. So I've played two.
I don't know. Ignition Factor's up there.
Ooh, okay. You know what? We might have to talk about firefighting games. I know it's better than fucking Fahrenheit on the Sega CD.
Yeah.
And then there's another, I think it's a Sega game. There's an arcade game. There's an arcade game that's about firefighting too that's also not as good as the Fireman. But good pick. Okay, go on.
Yeah, anyways, it's not that hard to find on Famicom, but for PAL, which is Super Nintendo, is hard to find. And it's just a cool collector's piece. And it seems like a game. It's because it's called The Fireman. You're like, what is this dumb game? So I just thought it would be a cool item to have on your shelf. And it's got a bright yellow box that you could talk to people about. It's a game that I will own one day. And it's pretty well rated too.
It's weird because like the concept of the game is that you're a fireman walking around a building, putting out fires, and like they do. There's more than that. There's enemies. There's some mechanics. A lot of it is walking around the building, putting out fires, and it's like just what it sounds like. You got like a time limit, and you got to put out the fires. Do you know
there's a sequel?
Is there a sequel?
Yeah, on the PlayStation.
What?
The Fireman 2.
Oh, man.
Yeah, the Fireman 2, Pete and Danny. Cool,
all right.
huh?
Are we going to have an After Dark moment? I'm literally going to buy that right now. Are you kidding me? There's a sequel to The Fireman on PlayStation? PlayStation has fucking everything, John.
Yeah, it's in Japan. It's a Japanese release.
Yeah, I figured that. Johnny,
yeah.
PlayStation is the best console of all time. Everything is on the PlayStation. Someone in the Discord overheard like a kid at like a game store say like, oh yeah, PlayStation, there's no good games on PlayStation. What the fuck are you talking about? I don't care what you like. If you just like modern stupid story games, it's got some of the best RPGs ever made. It's got 2D platformers like fucking Rayman. It's got weird out there shit like LSD that's almost like an indie game. It's got the sequel to fucking Firemen. It literally has every genre.
It's got gun games.
Hate like 3D graphics on the PlayStation because they look like garbage. You could have 100 games that aren't even like don't look like that. Oh my god.
Yeah. Yes. Tomb Raider 1 looks awful, but there's still a shit ton of sprite games there. Everything you want to play is like on the PlayStation. Like it's got so many games, especially if you include Japan. Like the idea that they wouldn't have good games is ridiculous. Anyways,
this one has a little bit of a fucked up manual, but it's only $28. Oh, this is the fake seller. Oh, fake sellers, I love them. Yep. There's only. Oh, oh man, there's a re-release. There's a PlayStation The Best. That's like greatest hits.
Yuck.
Oh, so I think the only complete in box original release is a sealed copy for $370. Johnny, that is more than I'm going to pay for a game I learned about 1 minute ago.
What about that $39 one?
Yeah, there's are you looking on eBay? I'm looking on Yahoo.
I'm looking on eBay.
Okay. Yeah, there's a $36 one, but it doesn't have the spine card. I used to not care about spine cards.
The oboe?
Yeah, I need the spine card.
Right.
So, what's up?
Oh, Obi.
Yeah, the
Obi. Yeah.
I
still don't care about Obies. I just can't make myself care.
One day I want to like go through all my games and put them in like plastic cases so I can have the spine card going around them, because I think they look so good when they're like that. Like they're inconvenient, but
they look
so good.
You know You know, Tyler, I hadn't considered that, but that is an excellent solution for my games that have OBs.
Yeah, because like, what do you just take them out and put them in the jewel case, right? And then there's like,
and then they get
flopping around and they get damaged.
Yeah.
It's like a pain in the ass.
Yep, that's how I feel about them, which is why so many games are missing them. But you're right. If I just bought a stupid plastic case for those games, I could just drop it in there and be like it should be. Tyler, thank you. That is so obvious, and I just had never considered it.
Yeah, no problem, Johnny. I'm gonna say there are no. I would pay $45 for this game, but there's not a lot of complete nice ones. So I'm gonna give up on my dreams of the Fireman 2 game I learned about 2 minutes ago. I'll be okay, I think.
Maybe you will.
It takes place in a theme park on Christmas Eve. It's a Christmas game.
Oh my God! It's going on the list. We've done it. Tyler, now I have to buy it.
It looks exactly like the Super Nintendo version. Like going back to there are 2D games on PlayStation. It's the Super Nintendo version. I'm watching. Oh, it just looks better. It has bad reviews. I don't care. I'm gonna buy this game one day, but not today. Good pick, Johnny. You're saying good pick, but I'm mostly saying it because I got excited about learning about a game I've never heard of before.
You're welcome. All right. What's last time? I like that both of our last picks on these Strive picks are kind of like womp picks a little bit. Like,
I mean,
okay.
So
they're not bad, but it's just like they're funny picks.
When you think of the hot collectible Super Nintendo games, I think of Hagane, I think of Aero Fighters, Pocky and Rocky 2. And Pocky and Rocky 2 is cool. But Hagane does nothing for me. Aero Fighters does nothing for me. Compared to other consoles, the hot rare shit on a lot of other consoles is more exciting to me than Super Nintendo. It's crazy to me that Hagane is the most expensive Super Nintendo game, a game that people 10 years ago did not fucking care about. It's like one of these complete flippenings. It used to be Mountain Bike Rally Speed Racer, and guess what? I don't care about that game either. If you talk about top Super Nintendo rarities, and it's not the rarest game, but Super Mario World is number one by a mile to me compared to the other stuff that costs $1,000 and more on Super Nintendo.
It's weird. Weird game.
So I didn't pick any of those. I went with Harvest Moon, which is also if you want a nice copy, it's like $750 to maybe more than $1,000. But I love farm sims, and I didn't get to put a simulation game on my thing, so it is super collectible, but it's also a genre that I really like. And I think Harvest Moon 64 is the best Harvest Moon, but I don't have a complete in-box Harvest Moon because it's too fucking expensive. But yeah, that would be my third Strive pick. I'm still striving for it. I just don't know when that's going to happen for me.
It's weird to me that you don't have this game.
Johnny, it's because it's $1,000.
I know, but you have so many other things.
Do I have it? I feel like I would remember the financial pain of buying one if I bought it, even if I bought one 4 years ago. So I'm pretty sure I don't have it.
Now you've got to go look. All right. My last pick for this Drive pick is Fun and Games for the Super Nintendo. Is it a good game? No, it is not. But do you want to know what I feel like it started? I feel like it started the collectible video game that for some reason the fucking manual is rare.
Oh,
I think this is that's why very specifically, not just Fun and Games, I want you to have the manual. And I'm not a big manual guy, but this is one of those ones. Get the manual, check it off your list, be so excited that you did. This is a game that people used to care about, and they used to care about this manual a lot. It was $1,000 all the time. Now it's dropping quite a bit. I think I've seen some complete copies go for 600, 500. So keep an eye out, but make sure it's got that manual. I just think it's very funny that Fun and Games, there's this genre, you get your stadium events and all the blockbuster games, and even on the Super Nintendo, Final Fight Gi doesn't have it, but this is the one where everybody knows. The manual. Does yours have the manual? I bet you're missing the manual. It's that game.
Was Fun and Games a big rental game or something? Why is this game always missing the manual?
I've never looked into the history of it. I just know the collector history of, man, this stupid game is missing its manual.
Yeah. So obviously there's genuine rarity to it. The funny thing is like the cartridge for this game is like nothing. Like I think it's gotten up a little bit recently. Like what is it, like $30 maybe? But like you could probably get it for less. It's on Lucky Games for $60 now. Wow. What was I saying, Johnny?
You were wondering if it's
did this become like a meme, almost like Earthbound? And it's obviously got genuine rarity to it, but if you asked me like, what's the manual everybody needs on Super Nintendo? I'd be like, oh yeah, Fun and Games. That's the rare manual. It might be the rarest manual, but it's like the same thing like, oh yeah, the Three Ninjas kickback poster is super rare. And do we just, as collectors, we all get into a frenzy of, okay, I know the Three Ninjas kickback poster is super rare, so I gotta scoop those up when I see them, and like a lot of people are looking for them, and that pushes up the price. Did that happen with Fun and Games, or is it just like genuinely $1,000 rare compared to everything else on the Super Nintendo?
I mean, I think it was kind of rare. Like, I didn't see many manuals, and I knew lots of people who were just missing them. So it's not like people were just scooping up manuals. So they were just always available in box or just cart. So I think there's some actual rarity. I don't know what triggered the event of it, though. So I don't know exactly how that happened. I don't have a great answer for you. I'm sorry.
You put it at $1,000, Johnny?
No, it's like 600.
There's like a pretty nice Fun and Games complete in box for $750. Oh no, it's got a fucked up box on the back, but yeah, $750. I wouldn't pay $750 with a fucked up box. All right, never mind. Let's go up to $1,000. Yeah, the carton box copies of Fun and Games. It's just so sad.
Yep. So that's like a weird Strive pick and kind of a fun pick.
All right.
I wanted to close it off with something like that. So
Johnny, we didn't add up our. Let's add up our things. Let's see how much we have to financially ruin ourselves.
Okay. Oh God, I don't want
to. So my games altogether would be $3,660 for just the good ones, and it's like $2,500 for the other ones.
You're not talking about the Strive games, right? Though.
Yeah, no, forget the Strive games. So it's $3,600 for just my good ones.
Okay, I have to do a little bit more because I put the ranges in my
price range. Cut
out. I've got to put a median
up.
Price in there, so I get like a median value. Hold on, and like this should be more than 2,000. Actually, I'm gonna put 2,500 because I think that's fair. I'm gonna input 60 there, and then 130. All right.
You're gonna get a Turtles in Time for 130. Or actually, is that gonna be a copy you like?
Yeah, I think that's a fair copy.
I thought that game was like $400.
I also put it's like 300 gets you a super nice one. Things are coming down. Like maybe that's wrong, but my total. What was your total?
$3,660.
Okay, and mine is 5,870, and that's with me putting a $2,500 Earthbound on my list. So we got nearly the same value in the end. If I just didn't have
$2,000 off for
me. I just said if I didn't put Earthbound, like the gaudiest choice in the world.
Also, your Turtles in Time is way off. Are you looking at like repro boxes or something? Turtles in Time is like $300 fucking dollars. You're not getting a $130 copy of Turtles in Time.
I was pretty sure I looked and saw
the last copy sold for $600.
Okay, maybe I got
for
that
like a nice one. Like the cheapest you'll get for like a good one is like $250. I think.
This is a fight that doesn't matter.
All right. I'm saying your price is $100 off.
Okay, fine. Add $100 on. Who cares? I'm still way more expensive than you.
Yes. Your tastes. Well, it's because of Earthbound. Fuck Earthbound.
Yeah, it's because of Earthbound. If Earthbound wasn't in there and I slotted anything else, our prices would be close. Also, we share a lot of the same games. And I look forward to doing the next 10 games for the Super Nintendo and doing the next 10 games doing the first 10 games for some other systems.
Like the N64? Why do I feel like we're going to skip N64? Also,
no, I have it. Look at the tab.
Oh, wow. You already
have. Yes. I've done this. I figured these episodes out already.
Okay, like is the N64 even an episode? Are we like literally going to have the same 10 games for that episode?
I don't know. It'll be interesting to see if we do.
All right.
But that will speak to if the system is actually like as limited as we say, or can we wheedle out maybe not in the first 10, but is there next 10 that gets divergent, maybe we'll do the thing that we said on the N64, or that we almost did here. So in the beginning of the episode, Tyler and I were kind of trying to decide, it's like, oh, these lists are so samey that maybe it's not that interesting. Maybe we have to keep picking until we have 10 games that the other person doesn't have. Maybe we'll do that for the N64 to see how far down we go. Do we have to get 100 games in before we diverge? I just think that's pretty interesting, because the better a system is, you should be able to have 10 different games kind of quickly.
Yeah, like if we did PlayStation 2, like that would end after like 10 games. Like we could literally pick top 10s and have zero overlap because the library is that deep.
Yeah, like, I mean, Super Nintendo, we could have, I mean, there are 5 games that are just so good, you're definitely going to have them. But we could have diverged more with a couple of picks easily.
We could have. But
yeah.
The thing is, like, if you get to N64, if we did the thing where we have to keep picking until we have 10 unique games on each of our lists, the failure scenario is that we literally go through all 296 games and never get to the point where we can have unique games. And that, like, if that happens, it's just like the console is so bad that we couldn't find 10 unique games to pick.
Yep. And we are very much different video game players.
Yes.
Like, we enjoy different things from video games. So do you want to commit to that for the N64 episode?
I mean, we could try it. Like, it's going to quickly get to the point where, like, I've played the top 50 N64 games.
Then we're just guessing.
I don't know what NBA Courtside 2 with Kobe Bryant. I don't know what that game is. So, yeah. Like, what am I going to do there? Like, there's like all these F1 games. Like, I don't know what the fuck the difference is between those.
Yeah. I mean, we'll give it a try. I don't think we'll get through the whole library, largely because of what you just said, because we're going to get past the 50 that we know about, and we're going to be in a desert, and we're just going to be picking blindly.
I mean, that's why we're going to diverge. It's going to be like, oh, it's because we each picked 10 random wrestling and hockey games.
Yeah. Yep.
So here's your definitive best N64 games, minus the popular stuff. Number 1, it's F1
F1 2000. Yeah. You ever played F1 2000? Oh, it's a good one. Is that even the name? Hey, FIFA 99, missed you there, bud.
All right. Johnny, do we have any insight? Like, I wanted, if for a normal episode, I would want to provide insights about what we just said, but like, yo, guys, they're the most popular Super Nintendo games of all time.
Yeah, this isn't so much a game about insight, so much as like, if you were coming in and you're thinking about collecting for this system, you know, running through. I think there are some insights. We gave some collectory tidbits. Like I said, I do look forward to the next 10 games, because I think we start to get past that. I actually have scenarios where we do, like, for the best consoles, we go 30 games deep, like revisiting the Nintendo, Super Nintendo. Like, we could probably get on PS1 and PS2, maybe Genesis.
Johnny, we promised so many series that fall off. So
I know, but
we're talking about getting to like the 12th entry of a series. Let's understand our ambitions here.
I'm just saying we could. I'm not saying we will.
Right.
I created the template.
For decades, guys. Don't worry. We got the content.
Look, if nothing else, we could release the list on our Discord. I already did the list for most of the systems.
All right. Johnny, collector's question time.
All right.
Tom Nook asks, does he ask? We remember the feeling of pouring through a game manual on the car ride home after getting a new game. So are there any specific game manuals you have especially fond memories of reading as a kid?
Yeah. I mean, but to me, it always comes back to Final Fantasy. Just like every RPG manual ever, because I like just sit there. Also, the Battle of Olympus one, weirdly, stands out for me. But yeah, RPG manuals, because they're always like huge, and I wanted to sit there and read about them. And if there was any story involved, I wanted to see that fantasy story. So
that sounds
Final
great.
Fantasy, there was so much. And like maps, when you got maps, oh, so good.
Like, yeah, you played all these games. Like, these are genres I did not play as a kid. And like Zelda didn't come with a map, and like all these computer RPGs that I love now, I had none of that as a kid. I was playing first-person shooters as a kid. So when I think of the manuals that I saved all of my N64 manuals, and I never read them. I remember because I would go through them and I'd read them, and like I was a gamer kid, and like I'd sit through and I'd figure out a video. Like I never read the fucking manual, so I'd read the manual and be like, I already know all this shit. Why are you telling me how to jump? What the fuck? So reading an RPG manual that has a story sounds a lot more interesting than reading the Super Mario 64 manual. No, my fond memories of manuals are 100% like specifically. I could think of like 3 N64 games. On the ride home from work, I ripped the box literally in half to
Ugh.
just look at the cartridge on the way home. Those are my fond memories.
Oh my god, you're a
I like
monster.
Diddy Kong Racing. I remember. I know the Funkoland I went to. It was the one across from the Walt Whitman Mall. We got Diddy Kong Racing. Fucking ripped that box in half on the ride home.
Oh my
Oh,
God.
so good.
You're giving me heart palpitations. Stop that, you monster. You're like Sid from Toy Story. I don't understand you.
Super Metroid Man asked, "What was the most expensive game you bought twice and why? Was it a variant, accident, misplaced, or what?" Ooh, that's a good one to think about.
Yeah, for you it's like Zelda, right? Your sealed Zelda or Super Mario 64.
That's very, very boring. Yeah, I guess I have 2 sealed Famicom Disk System Zeldas, and those were like $1,000. So, yeah, I got the. Well, they're both yellow text. One's a slightly earlier variant. So, yeah, wow, that's a really exciting one. Thanks, Johnny. Way to ruin my thunder with a game I
Sorry.
bought last week.
Sorry. Maximum Carnage.
Oh, what?
Yeah,
the QVC one? Because you got both
Yep.
versions or what?
Yep. I don't know. One sealed, so it could be the same or it could not.
Oh, come on.
I have no idea.
Start weighing it. Just put the Super Nintendo version in your open one and then put the Genesis version in. There's got to be a significantly different weight.
I'm sure there is, but it's funnier if I don't.
All right. Oh, I remember this. Like were we on the show and we just like looked that up and there was like a sealed Maximum Carnage for $500 and we're just like, why is that there? You should buy that.
I think it was like 300.
It was cheap. Whatever it was. It was like, yeah. Just do that. What are you doing?
I think it was a best offer too, and they took my best offer.
Yeah, I would never do that. You see like games that are already underpriced and you're like, but what if I can get another 20% off?
Yeah.
You're like, what if I can get another 40% off?
You know how I am. I look for a deal. I just look for deals.
There's an Ultima, like a very overpriced Ultima 1 on eBay, and I like psyched myself up to offer the guy like $500 over what I think is the fair market value for like a mint one. Like $500 more than that, and his isn't mint, and it was auto rejected. I like psyched myself up for days before making this offer.
Well, also, I've been going through a lot of like offers lately, and people have really overestimated the value of their games, especially like as a bunch of collectors are dipping out of the market and set collecting is dead. Like, hey, if you've got just set filler, if you've got like a $20 game and someone offers you 18 and it's like on the Wii, you should take it as fast as you can and run with that money and celebrate. Just saying. You're like, no, it was like that guy in Portland. Just like, at least he had like RPGs, and it's like, yeah, maybe those will sell. But like, I don't know what world you think we are in right now, but whatever your perception of reality does not align to what your video games are priced at.
Yeah. But games are prices are down. Johnny, buy everything, or at least you know what? Buy Link to the Past for $250. That's the best buy. You know, that's the insight. Out of all the games we're talking about, like I love Super Mario World. I understand it's expensive, but fucking Link to the Past, it's expensive, but it's so much better than all the other $250 Super Nintendo games.
Yeah. Well, that like get if you don't have a Zelda complete box $250 and then Super Castlevania at $130. Yes, that's money, but gosh, that seems. I mean,
it's good.
It's Super Castlevania. So,
all right, Johnny, what are you buying? What are you playing? We've talked enough about those games.
Okay, Tyler, do you know about this system? Stop me if you've heard about it, but it's the Wii.
Oh, I'm thinking about selling all my Wii games because what am I doing with them? But yeah, all right, tell me about the Wii.
Okay, well, Tyler, I can tell you the ones that have arrived are some real bangers. Would you like to hear their names?
Johnny, are you completing your Wii set? Your like 95% complete Wii set? Is that what's happening right now?
Yes.
Okay, let me hear the bangers. We got like one of those rare racing games or like Maximum Games or whatever?
No, that one I'm still negotiating a price on. Flat Out. Yeah.
Flat Out 1? I didn't even know that was on the Wii.
Just Flat Out.
Okay.
Okay, that's its whole name. Rock Band Track Pack Classic Rock.
Oh.
MTV's Pimp My Ride, Nat Geo Challenge Wildlife.
Johnny, did you just like go to the flea market and just like grab the first thing you saw?
No, these are like, you saw my Wii list before when it was like at the end. This is like literally the trash at the end of the Wii list. It's not like...
And these aren't like the Jewel Master. These aren't like the desirable like $300 games. It's just like the shit you have to get.
Yes.
Just like still there.
That's I'm in the trough. And that's why I'm telling you, like, I'm offering, like, there's a game called Emergency Mayhem, and the guy had it for $11. And I offered 10. And he countered back at 10.75. Like, don't fucking counter back for a quarter.
No,
that wasn't
fuck
worth
you
either
for
of our
offering
time.
$1 less. I'm 100% on board with that guy.
No,
no, and I would have taken
if it's
the $10.75 too.
Look, if it's $11, then let it be $11. Don't put or best offer on there.
So I understand where you're coming from. Because, like, why you have a best offer. In my opinion, like, if you have a best offer on an $11 item, it's because you accidentally ticked the best offer field. Or you just have a template that automatically includes it. But
I mean, maybe, but that's not my fault. That's not me. Like, I've set my expectation.
I know it's not your fault. But that guy gets an offer for $1 off, and he's like, okay, fuck this guy. Number one, my first thought is, fuck this guy for wasting my time. Second thought is, this guy just wants to feel like he got a win, that he got something off. Because he's one of these bargainer negotiator types. So I will give him 25 cents off so he feels like he has won the negotiation. But at the same time, it's a fuck you for wasting my time.
Also, there was other copy. The only reason I put an offer on that specific copy, it was a little nicer than the other copy that was just $10. It was just a little nicer.
The fact that there are people selling video games that you can go online and just click it and there's a picture of it and they will literally ship it to your house. And they're doing that for games that cost $11. Like, it is not worth it to sell games for that. Those people are already doing us a service. Why are you pissing them off?
No, I'm not pissing. They're pissing me off, Tyler.
Oh my God.
Look.
I'm 100% with the seller on this one.
No. Because this is junk, Tyler. If you can get rid of this, get rid of it. No one is coming for your Nat Geos.
No,
okay?
Exactly. No. But at the same time, recognize that the seller is making zero money by selling this
liquidity. You're already in. Get rid of it. Whatever you're getting out of it is more than the nothing that you got for holding it.
It might not be, though. Like, I have sold...
Look, how many sellers have this game? It's not like a rare game. This is common trash. It's all there. None of them are selling. If you look at solds, there's not a lot of solds for these items. So you've got a big competition with everybody else who is selling. So when a buyer comes to you, you have the option of trying to retain that buyer or not. That's just bad business.
But when you get to the point of a $10 item on eBay with fees and shipping and shit and all that, like, it just gets to the point where you should just donate it. Like, you'll literally lose money selling stuff for cheaper than that.
Sure, but that's a different philosophy than what they've already done. These people have already crossed that river and said, I am selling.
All right.
And it's not, look,
right into the show. Tell us if you agree with the seller who countered at $10.75 or with Johnny who thinks he should have got it for $10. Did you accept the $10.75 offer?
No, I didn't. I immediately was like, you wasted my time. I went and bought the $10 one.
I can't believe you. And you bought the worst copy too. I can't believe
it was like only slightly. It was like
a nonsense person.
You know what it is? It had like a slight sticker on it that I didn't want to peel off, but I'm like, fine, I'll just peel off the sticker. So, and it wasn't like a hard sticker. It's like an easy one. I was just like, I don't feel like dealing with that. I'm like, if this guy takes 10, then great. If not, I'll go buy this other one. I already have that mindset. Also, think about this, Tyler. It's 10%. Also, we're in the Christmas zone where the good stuff is going to sell and the trash is going to sit because people are buying Christmas gifts. None of these are falling into the gift range, right? Like, no one's buying these as gifts for people. Or
I don't know who's ever buying these ever. So.
Yes, exactly. So also you're in a zone where sales are going to be more competitive for good stuff. So your trash is going to sit and sit and sit and sit. And you have a buyer who came up to you and then you're like, let's try and show them what a big businessman, and I'll counter at a quarterback. It's like, no.
I'm still 100%
if you did like the one, if you did the 1 penny
the
counter,
fact that he didn't outright reject you and that he gave you the fuck you counter offer, I appreciate even more. Because, like, if he rejects you, yeah, then it's kind of like, why do you even have the best offer? But the fact that he's like, why are you wasting my time? I like it.
Wait, do you like
he
it?
was
Why have
he
the
was
best
still
offer?
willing
Why,
to
it's
make the deal.
10%.
He was
It's
willing to deal with you.
Tyler.
Fuck, there's no 10% when you're dealing with video game prices that are that low. Like, you can't say like, whoa, I'm tracking the prices for Complete in Box The Last of Us, and the market swung 15% this week. It's like, oh, what did it go up 75 cents? Like, what are you talking about?
You're the old man in Portland who, at the end of the day, had not enough sales, was leaving with most of his inventory. You came in and offered 10% off of what he was asking, which is a very reasonable offer. And also, the difference here is this guy is inviting offers. The other guy isn't. He's just at a booth. And you said, will you do 400? And he's like, no, I got to stick to 440. You're like, okay, I hope that was worth 10%. 10%, Tyler.
All right,
Think
so
about
for what it's worth, I was just browsing random games there. I was not those were not games that I wanted at Portland. If they were games I wanted, I obviously would have just spent the 440. Because that's fine. Because whatever. Let's go to you had a negotiation at Portland. What was it? There was some other stupid ass Wii game, and it was like a $45 Wii game, and you wanted it for $40. What was that game? What was that going?
And I got it for $30 on eBay.
Okay, but was it as nice? His was pretty nice.
Yes, perfect.
Okay. That guy was a little unreasonable because, like, I understand wanting to keep your mint 10 out of 10 Breath of Fire and thinking that someone will eventually pay my full asking price for it. Like, I know you hate that, and like, I understand, like, if it went through fucking 3 days of a game convention and no one bought it, like, guy, all right, it might not sell ever.
Like at the biggest video game convention.
Yeah. But
after COVID hasn't been here in 3 years. Like, consider your situation.
I picked up, so there was a seller, I was looking for specific games for you, and there was a seller, he had a specific Wii shovelware game, and he didn't know what it was. He looked it up, I picked it up, and he looked it up on eBay. I'm like, hey, how much is this? And I expected him to say $10, and he said, like, $50. And it was a game that, he said $50, and it was like, unsold buy it now is for $45. So a little bit kind of like, fuck you, we're at a game convention, and we're negotiating over shovelware, and you're pricing it above market. And then I think you went and offered $40, and he didn't even take the $40. It was just ridiculous. Negotiating over shovelware is ridiculous. I understand for high-end Super Nintendo games, yes. For shovelware, like, you should be thrilled that anyone has approached you at all. But I'm still agreeing with the seller for you trying to get $1
You are making so
off.
many weird arguments. You've just told me, yeah, you should get rid of your shovelware, but I agree with this guy.
Yeah, no. If it was a $20 thing of shovelware and you offered $17.50 even, like,
that's a bigger discount than what I offered this guy. That's asking for more of a discount.
If you're trying to get a discount of $1, you are willing to pay the full price. Like, you are just being an asshole. I'm not. You're being a coupon clipping motherfucker at this point.
Absolutely. I'm buying the end of a Wii set. It already hurts. I have to get all the deals I can because this is never going to have any value, Tyler. Every dollar I put here is a loss. These are L's. I'm just checking L's off of my list, right? I'm like, How many L's can I take right here? And the answer was, like, when I started finishing it up, it was 106 games or something. And now I'm down to like the last 11 L's I need to collect.
Isn't that kind of interesting? Like, it is so clear. I realize it's a little bit trough and no value. Like, people, like, Wii is at the age where people don't want it, but and I felt this way about Nintendo 64, and I was wrong. But man, it just feels like no one is ever going to collect the Wii set. Like, you're an actual crazy person for collecting the Wii set, because even the people who would be nostalgic for the Wii, like, they're Gen Z is online. They've grown up. They have nostalgia for things. And, like, they like the good Wii games, but no one is like, yeah, let's buy 1,000 garbage games. They'll do that for GameCube. GameCube's a hard set to collect, but there are people collecting GameCube. We use an easy set to collect, so people collect it.
Emergency mayhem? Really? Like, just be so happy that it's sold.
Where's this guy? Do I need to like send an apology to this guy and buy mayhem?
No, you should send him a note being like, well, dummy, enjoy owning that game for the rest of your life.
Okay, like I was expecting there to be like 4 copies. Oh my god! I was expecting there to be like 4 copies of this game. There's a lot of copies of Emergency
That's
Mayhem.
what I'm
like,
saying.
I'm still scrolling. There's like 50.
It's the Wii we're talking about. It's not rare stuff. I'm telling you, this is bottom barrel shovelware. Everything should be like, if I went into GameStop, I would be paying $2 for these games. The fact that I'm paying.
Like,
this is
okay,
the
I
end of the
understand
end.
that guy's $11, like literally $11 might have been overpriced, $10 might have been the right price. There's a lot of $10 shipped versions of this game, but if you're not willing to pay the $11, just don't waste his time. Just move on.
It was just a slightly better version, and it was in the price range. There was a couple nicer that were 12, but I was
he has
like,
the slightly better version, so we can eke the dollar
No,
out of
he
that collector who's willing to pay for the quality.
because there are no collectors to eke it out of. That's it. I'm it, Tyler. I'm it. If you're not eking it out of me, you're not eking it out of anyone. It's not happening.
I saw someone in a chat say that Pokemon, what are the Sword and Shield sold 20 million copies on the Switch, so that when people grow up, that's an amazing investment because all of them are going to want to go back and play that, so it'll only go up in value over time. I mean, there's so many games that sell like 20 million copies now that, like, couldn't you say that about like literally anything? Like, these can't all be good investments.
Also, if it sold 20 million, doesn't that mean that they'll just be around forever and not 20 million people are going to want them? Probably 1% of the people who bought that will want that back in their lives, especially in a generation that is shunning physical media and not moving forward with that as an idea. And also, like, these people can't afford houses to even house all their dumb bullshit. Like, it's a renter culture now. You think this is a good investment? That's an insanity.
Johnny, you forgot one thing. Like, 0 people throw out video games anymore. Like, people
Also
used to throw out video games, and that just does not happen anymore. Anyway, I can't believe no one. What is the Wii? What is I have some more. I can't believe we're still talking about the Wii. Like,
no,
I told you I had to no collectors with talk about Emergency Mayhem. No one can relate to this game. I never heard of this game until right now.
The situation. But we're not talking about the. Who cares about the game? We're talking about the situation.
I know.
And here's the interesting thing about the Wii as a collectible item. It's not. Think about the DS. Got a lot of games. Like 1,500 or 1,700 or something. It's got a lot of games. And it's got games that are $400, $500, $600. And the Super Nintendo has $1,000 games. A collectible system always has a game that's like a barrier to entry or a couple, and you're just like, man, these are expensive and holy shit. The Wii doesn't have that. The Wii doesn't have a $200 game.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe that's Silent Hill. I mean, like, I could probably pull one out.
No, go look at.
What is that Silent Hill Fragile something?
Fragile
Shattered Memories.
Shattered Memories.
Don't people like one of those Silent Hill games that's also on PS2?
Yeah, but the cheaper version is on the Wii, and it's still less than $200.
Oh, okay. All right. I mean, yeah, people don't want to collect the Wii. I believe you, Johnny.
No, like sorting, like you're gonna find like a weird Club Penguin. Like a Zelda, a Rock Band bundle. The Rock Band 2 bundle, $160. I'm just using price charting to be quick. Okay. Avente e Sonar, and I know I said that wrong. That's like the weird Mexico only release singing game. So kind of rare and like kind of hard to obtain. Comes with a microphone. That's only like $150. Dokapon Kingdom, $120. Cyberbike, I guess, is like $200. So I guess that's like your one game that'll kind of get you there.
Got him.
That's like a weird cycle. Yeah, but there's not like a list of these things. They're all like, most games are under $100, and that like the top end ones are on the like the 90s, right? So I just thought that was pretty interesting.
I mean, it's an interesting set in that anyone collects any of it. Yes. I think prices will be crazy for a long time because it's just not only is it big and uninteresting, but it's also like balls common because is it Nintendo's best-selling console ever? Like is it more popular than the Switch was?
Yeah, I'm not sure anymore. I'm not sure if it's so.
I think I saw a statistic recently that the PlayStation 4 lifetime sales are still more than Switch, which shocked me.
That would be crazy. And so I guess it does have $200 games. I think when I was originally looking at this, no $300 games because I forgot about Cyberbike and Sonar, which is like between 150 to 200. But still, it's just weird that the DS, which I find to be a very similar system, and even has more shovelware, and like it's a portable. It has like $500 and $600 games, like trash games. It's Veggie World.
There's a lot of people excited to collect DS. I mean, well, it's because DS is such a better console than the Wii. So I get it. DS has a lot of bangers. And like obscure, cool bangers, whereas the Wii is like the opposite.
No, but like it's rare. It's rare, and most expensive stuff is normally trash.
I mean, yeah, it's rare. But like the rare expensive stuff on
Get
every
that
console is
pocket bike,
trash.
guys.
Johnny, update. According to Wikipedia's latest references, PlayStation 4 117 million, Nintendo Switch 114 million. Like Switch will clearly like blow away PlayStation 4, especially whenever they release the next console revision. But like, would you sitting here right now say like, oh yeah, PlayStation 4 is clearly more popular than Nintendo Switch? Like, I feel like Nintendo Switch is such a phenomenon. I wouldn't even compare it to the as like PlayStation 4. Obviously, it's the mainline PlayStation console, but still, it's crazy.
Yeah, that is kind of crazy. What about PS3? How many PS3s? I mean, I know that started off very slow and then heated up. But
there's a note here. It says more than 87 million, so there might be something weird. Oh, as of 2017. All right, so we'll just say 87 million. So that's like, so there's like the Nintendo Wii at 100 million, and then there's a huge gap, and then you get to like PlayStation, Xbox, GBA, everything else. So if you hit the 100 million point of the Nintendo Wii, which is PlayStation, Switch, PS4, Game Boy, DS, and PS2. Those are the real big dick consoles from the 100 to 150 million.
So look, you just even said it. DS, how many million?
154 million. It is right next to PS2 as the best, most popular thing ever made.
That's what I'm saying. And has a gigantic library, which is a barrier. Really, the only barrier of entry to the Wii is like your tolerance for bad games.
Johnny, is the DS the PlayStation 2 of handhelds? Is it like that good? Maybe I'm not as familiar with the DS library.
I mean, the DS does have some bangers. The DS, if they ever make any version where you can play the DS outside of the DS, where you can play it on like a Switch or something, they make a screen where you can do it, or have split screen on your main TV or something. Then DS is really going to be rocking.
If they were going to do that, they would have tried it with the Wii U, especially when it was failing.
I thought they were going to do that.
Everyone thought they were going to do that. And then it was like, oh, okay, I guess we're not doing that.
Maybe they just looked at it and said, nah, not worth it.
Yeah, or maybe they tried it and they're like, this is not a AAA Nintendo experience. I understand if people would want to set up an emulator to do that, and it's like, I could deal with the jankiness because I understand this is an emulator, but maybe it just
and people they've created some really janky versions, ways to do that.
Yeah. Anyways, because there's so many games that turn the screens into one screen, and obviously they could just pick games that don't do that, but then you might be missing some. It probably just wasn't a Nintendo-y thing. They wanted to be Apple and have only the best high-quality experiences, which is why we now have Mario and Rabbids 2 for the Nintendo Switch.
Yeah, and it's also why when you take the Switch off the dock, it runs at 2 frames per second. Because they want that premium experience.
I understand Nintendo, how popular Nintendo DS was, fucking obviously, but am I discounting Nintendo DS? Because I don't collect DS games. But I don't collect PS2 either, but I look at PS2 and I'm like, I should be collecting more PS2 because it's the most popular console ever and because the library is essentially the best ever. But I never think of DS and be like, oh yeah, Nintendo DS, one of the best libraries ever. Am I just not going deep enough into DS? Should I be a DS guy?
There's some really good DS stuff, but it's locked behind a piece of hardware that you may never be compatible with anything else. But when you look at a PS2 game,
fucking whatever, it's sitting in my house. I have 4 Nintendo DSs and I don't collect DSs. They just pile up.
I understand that, but if we're talking about ease of use and stuff, you're just like, oh man, this PS2 game may work in anything, easy to put in a computer. It's just a much easier experience to emulate. Or to run anywhere.
What does emulating have to do with these games?
I'm just saying, people discounted backwards compatibility for a long time, and then helped Xbox like gain a bunch of ground that it otherwise wouldn't have.
I'm talking about collecting for myself.
I know, but if you are look, it gives you a reason to keep games. That's what I'm saying. Gives you a reason to keep them.
So it makes DS more collectible.
No, because like if you're like, when am I ever going to do this again? I've put the DS away forever. You know,
but it just doesn't. You don't. That's the great thing about a DS. Like if I take out my what's the stupid VHS console? My Action Max? Like I gotta hook that up to like an RF TV, and like I will never hook up my Action Max ever again. But DS is just a handheld to just pick it up and play it. Probably have to charge it again.
Look, I see your argument. I don't necessarily disagree. But there has been some collectible barrier there. I mean, people do go hard at the DS. It's such a big library though. That's the other thing. Like, it's got some expensive games.
I'm out on set collecting. Wikipedia says that there are 3,468 games. I'm sure that includes like DSiWare and some shit, but like,
yes,
there's a list of physical games. 3,400.
No, the list is not in the U.S.
It's not in the U.S. This is worldwide. But is that the biggest console library of all time?
No, PS2 and PS1 are like way more than that.
All right, I never combine my regions like this. Anyway, we're off in After Dark territory here.
Yeah.
What else are you buying?
That's it. That's what I bought. Like I'll have more to talk about on the stupid Wii and all the shenanigans and a full. I'll give you like a full After Dark of everything I did with the PS with the Wii as I finished it, because I kept track of the last 100 games, and when I stopped collecting, I put all the prices of what I thought it would cost me, you know, like 4 years ago. And now I'm inputting all the prices of the games I bought of that last 100, what I had to pay now and how the price diverged, and like what my average price per game expected was versus what I'm actually paying. So I'll have a full understanding of that soon before this year ends.
It'll be like a post-mortem of a cryptocurrency, like a shitty cryptocurrency that went to zero. It'll just have like a spreadsheet. It'll be like, this is how I lit my money on fire strategically.
Yeah, well, I mean, you were lighting your money on fire the minute you bought a Wii game.
Yeah, exactly.
And by the way, PlayStation 1 has 4,221 games.
Physical games? 4,000?
Yeah, it's the PS1. It didn't have like a downloadable library.
Is that, but like that's including Lightspan games? There's like hundreds of Lightspan games,
I don't know
which people don't give enough credit for, and they're like $1 each. What the fuck? Crazy. Anyway, Johnny, I'm going to talk about what I bought, which is not super interesting, but I do have a story to. Okay. All right, I bought some upgrades. I mostly bought duplicate stuff. I got an upgrade for my Pele Soccer for Atari 2600.
Oh, very exciting.
I had an old save search. I actually bought this game, and then a nicer one came up, and it had a sticker on the front of the box, and I maybe I'd seen that sticker before, but I certainly don't have that sticker, so I wanted that Pele. Maybe first licensed athlete on a sports game.
Less.
No, it was like $40 though, but that's like kind of what the game's worth, and it's the.
It's just making a really bad joke. Pay less.
What? That wasn't even close. That's
no, it wasn't. I said it was not good. I've already said,
but like if it's bad enough to the point where I don't understand it, it like just doesn't work.
Yeah,
you can't do it. It's illegal.
In there. I wedged it in. I shoehorned it in. It wasn't a good joke. I admit it. I take it back. I regret my choice.
Johnny, I bought an upgrade to my Tunnels of Doom for TI-99. I just talked about the rare floppy disk version of the game that I saw at Portland, which I have a save search for, and I didn't find it. I just found a better copy of the cartridge version. That game is not very expensive. It's just an early dungeon crawler. It's kind of cool. And then I upgraded my Tetris for PC to what I think is the first print. The first print of like the widely released PC version before, like that came after like the actually cool, weird Russian version that was distributed on like floppy disks. I think so. There's a sticker on it that says like special RAM resident version enclosed. And I think a lot of the later copies of Tetris say over 250,000 sold. So I think this one's the first print. Cool. Tetris on PC.
You did
the version
it.
Everyone continues to remember.
Congratulations.
Johnny, I bought a video game on the Heritage Auctions.
Oh, did you?
So I
Look at
looked.
you,
I
you
haven't
fancy
bought.
investor.
I dabble in the sealed games.
Hello.
I
Somebody call
sometimes
my
watch
name.
heritage auctions for the amusement. I'm sorry. What are you saying? I'm talking over you.
I said, oh, did somebody call my name?
Okay, fuck off.
Yeah.
I watch heritage auctions. I bid. I'll say some, not frequently. Like I bid occasionally on heritage auctions. I have not won anything in 2 years because, like, obviously, video game prices. Like I bid what I think the things are worth, not based on price history. And fucking heritage auctions it's like NFTs. It is only price history. People don't give a shit when they bid on heritage auctions. But there were 2 games I was looking at. One was a first print Metroid Prime, and the other was a Super Monkey Ball. And I was the underbidder on both of them, and it broke my heart. Just like that nice Space Quest I bought that made someone cry. The people who bought those from over my bid made me cry. This wasn't one I wanted to watch. It's a game I wanted, but I didn't think I would win because it's the first time it showed up on heritage auctions, Johnny. It was a first print Super Mario Odyssey. And I put like a $320 bid on it. And I actually won it. And I didn't expect to because Heritage Auctions goes nuts for Mario stuff. Like right before this was a Wata 10 second print Breath of the Wild. Like second print Breath of the Wild, people send fucking cases of those to Wata. There are so many of them. And it went for like $7,000. I had already quit the auction. I had like logged off at this point because I didn't win Super Monkey Ball, so I went to bed. But yeah, here I am. I paid like $350 for a first print copy of Super Mario Odyssey, a 9.8 A+, which is good. It looks fine to me, but again, I think that if you're quote unquote investing in modern games, like if you're not buying 9.8 A++, everything you have is fucking garbage because there's gonna be so many of these. But you know, I like having some sealed Mario and Zelda games for my personal collection. So I have paid probably the highest price in the world for a copy of Super Mario Odyssey now.
You've done it.
Yeah.
How does it feel to be an investor?
Yeah, I'm a good investor. So it's so funny. All the good stuff. So you can bid before the live auction starts on Heritage Auctions, and all the good stuff. Everyone waits to the live auction to bid. So I don't know what that Zelda was at, that Wata 10 Zelda, but I'm sure it went up from like $1,000 to $7,000 in the live auction. And then the fucking Mario I bid on come up. It was like the auction right after, and it got 0 fucking bids. It made me just look like oh, this sucker, no one wants this shit after a Zelda sells for $7,000. I mean, in my opinion, a first print Mario Odyssey is worth infinitely more than a late print Breath of the Wild that you could have got on Amazon by the case, but whatever. People like those Wata 10s. Don't buy modern sealed games. I literally like Breath of the Wild and Mario Odyssey are like the only sealed Switch games I care about. Don't do this. There's so many of them and none of them matter. Stop it, guys.
Don't do this.
Literally don't do that. Also, by the way, I have a sealed first print Mario Odyssey that I bought for like $40, I'm sure. But it's shipped in a bubble mailer. And so the way you find this, you go to itemalert.com is the service I use. And you set up a search to look at all the Mario Odysseys that get listed on eBay. Because eventually someone fucks up and they put a first print for the same price as all the other ones. And all the other ones are going for like $40. The thing is, those get snapped up immediately because there's all the people who know they can flip it for $200. And I just I didn't want to do that. So I just bought this pre-graded one. Because the problem with doing that is every time you do that, like the person doesn't know what they have and they're just going to ship it to you in a fucking bubble mailer. And then when you get in a bubble mailer, it's like, oh, well, this is a 9.6 A+ now. It's like there's no point in grading that because there's so fucking many of them that like, what's the point? So anyway, what I'm saying is I'm a big time investor now.
You're a fancy investor. You did it.
Yep. You playing anything, Johnny?
I played some more Modern Warfare.
Oh, Call of Duty 4? We were just talking about that. Wow, what, the most important Call of Duty game?
Yeah.
It's worth $50,000 now.
Arguably, yeah.
Arguably.
You should definitely... Arguably, yeah. No, we agree. I just said that to be a tit. Yeah. No, I'm playing the real one. They just released like their season and stuff, and then I hadn't played in a while, and I just didn't know what was going on. I'm like, what is happening? All the menus changed. I hate it. I hate it when that happens. I don't like Warzone, so I didn't have any interest in that. And yeah,
You playing with Strange?
That's what I did. He said he's going to play with me. Made me an
What a
Xbox
jerk.
friend, and
Still haven't played with you.
Has not played with me. But I also haven't been on much, so that I'll put a little bit of that on me. So,
All right,
that's what I did. What about you? What'd you play?
Johnny, I've been playing some old platform games. Some Miner 2049er, some Manic Miner, some Montezuma's Revenge. All of these are like Indiana Jones characters underground. I don't know why every game from the early 80s is like that.
You know, I played Montezuma's Revenge.
Really? Which version?
The version that was on a computer with a brown screen.
Oh. Ooh, fancy. So you played like an original computer version, because that was on like Sega Master System. Weird.
No,
that's weird. Like Montezuma's Revenge, it's like an old ass. It's a good one, but it's an old ass platformer. Like very much like ropes and ladders, jump over enemies, and that's the fucking game. And to release that on Sega Master System in the era after Alex Kidd and Super Mario Brothers, it's just like such a throwback. It's such a weird thing to release.
Yeah, it was weird. I only played this game on this computer because my friend had it. And he was my friend of the moment. He was like the kid.
Sure.
The first time I ever went to Magic Mountain, I think I was in 3rd or 4th grade. We went by ourselves, and like my mom bought his ticket too. So like that was the birthday I got to take a friend to Magic Mountain. And so like the night before, I was spending the night at his house, and he had this thing, and he was showing me, and I could not have been less interested.
Oh man.
I was just like, man, looking at I'm like, I was just playing Section Z at home, and now I'm looking at this, and this hurts my face and my eyes.
That's so funny, because I think Section C, Section Z is kind of boring, sorry. But like, if I'm thinking in the mindset of like an 8-year-old, like Section Z is a fucking shooter, everything's scrolling and you're blowing stuff up. And then Montezuma's Revenge is it's like a single screen, and it like flips between the screens. So it's very unexciting to look at. It's very much like Pitfall, where like jumping over one enemy is like a kind of stressful thing, because if you fuck up the jump, you just die. It's so, I can see why a kid would not be interested in this game.
Not at all. And like, I had so many other exciting things like on my mind. I was like, I'm going to get a new game for my birthday, and I'm going to Magic Mountain. Holy shit. That was not interested in that at all.
Okay. I'm happy we were able to relate on this stupid old computer game no one remembers.
There you go. Anyways, I'm sorry. Go on.
No, that's it. And, you know, I'm going to be playing I'm probably going to play Divinity until 5 a.m. tomorrow.
Nice.
Yep.
All right. Hey, we did it. We did the episode.
That's it.
Tyler, tell them where they can find you.
I'm on, the Discord. I'm on the Instagram and the video game Sage. I'm Default Gen, Default GEN. Remember when we had an ETA of like 2 hours for this episode, and it's 4:15 in the morning for me right now?
Yeah.
Right,
that was because we remember your prep time, how long that took?
You know, I'm sorry. I literally thought I could shoot from the hip, because it's Super Nintendo, but then the problem isn't thinking of 10 games. It's like, well, what do I cut? Because they're all so good.
Yes, I know.
All right.
Also, we like fought about Wii for longer than we should. Also, when like we could have just cut out all the collectors' questions and stuff and just had a super streamlined "This Is It" episode. I think that would have been fine. But whatever. I'm not sad. But here it is. It's typical Collector's Quest. I wanted it to be an hour and a half to 2 hours.
No, you see, because if your goal is to get people who first are listening to the show to click on this episode first, they'll be like, oh, what they got an episode on Atari? Fuck that. Let me listen to just the top 10 Super Nintendo episode. Like, we need to give them the format. Like, they need the collectors' questions and stuff so they can get to know us as hosts. So it needs to be a regular episode. It can't be both the simple episode and the cut down on the other crap episode.
I don't know. I mean, we also we tangented a lot. Like we started talking about it, and we're just like, let's talk about more of this weird stuff that we don't need.
We definitely tangented a lot.
Yeah, we were not concise. Anyways, you can find me on Instagram, I guess, and mainly you can find me on the Discord. And if you want to find me on the Discord, you can do that by joining our Patreon at patreon.com/collectorsquest. You can join for as little as $2. That gets you access to the Discord. $4 gets you access to After Dark, and $6 gets you some bonus content and really just says, hey, we like you a lot, so I'm just going to pay you a little more for virtually nothing. I really recommend the $4 slot because that's your best value. Anyways, that's it for the show. Thank you so much for listening. We would love to hear what your picks were and what game we obviously missed that should have been on our top 10. So that's it. Thanks so much. Good night. Bye.
That is our show. Errata for the show. For some reason, we didn't bring up Zelda: A Link to the Past Player's Choice, and I know I shit on Player's Choice games a lot, but Player's Choice Link to the Past, it looks different from the original version. It's like a deep-fried meme version of the original. I still don't like it, but if we're gonna bring up the Super Metroid with a little difference in the corner, we probably should have brought that up as well. Also, I said Rendering Ranger R2 might be the last Super Famicom game. The last Super Famicom game physically was Fire Emblem Thracia 776 in 2000. Rendering Ranger came out in 1995. I wasn't even close. I was thinking of Metal Slater Glory, a game that has absolutely nothing to do with Rendering Ranger. They just both have cool names. Metal Slater Glory was the last Super Famicom game, but only distributed via Nintendo Power flash cartridges. That being the Nintendo Power download service, nothing to do with the magazine. Self-promotion, Wednesday, November 30th at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, I'm going to be on Twitch and YouTube recording live the next episode of the Lost Joystick Network. And if that sounds enticing, remember we're going to be talking for 2 to 3 hours about the show's topic, Pitfall 2. One of the coolest Atari games ever made. I hope to see some of you guys there. Thank you to 8-Bit, 8bit.bandcamp.com. Like the monkey, he does our intro music. Thank you to John Brown for letting me borrow your game, Dungeon of Doom, for like half of this year. Buddy, I'm gonna send it back to you soon, and I'm gonna finish up that damn video. And thank you to the patrons, Richard, patron number 1, Bowden, Canadian Variant Alert, Chris Glidden, Nintendo World Champion, Daniel Jackspick, High-End Collector, Andrew Brim, Greetings Stranger, I'm not surprised to see Andrew Shelton around here, 50 Hertz is good enough for me, Andre, Video Games Were Meant to Be Slabbed, Brandon Ackley, Brian Gupta, and Pocky and Rocky with Becky, The Strictly Limited Super Rare, Bruno, Coin Operated, Cameron Couch, Super Cedric Clark 2 Turbo, Fat Cat Collector, Chris Jackson, Stop Talking Trash About Sports Games, Chris Minoche. All right, shout out to our new patron, Chris Minoche. Tell me if I'm mispronouncing your name, by the way. So I Googled the patrons to try to come up with a nickname. The only thing I could find out about you is you like old video games and you like football. So my immediate instinct was your nickname was going to be Goal Chris Minoche. See, I don't know enough about football to know, 1, if that's somehow insensitive, or 2, if it's such like a basic announcer thing that it's just like not funny and holds no humor. If it's like being like, oh, you're into Super Mario Brothers? It's me! I don't know. But if you want me to change it to Goal, I will. Chris SNK, Too Many in His Accessories, Morozek, Johnny's GBA Hookup, Coffee with Mr. Saturn, Playing with Power, Connor Strange, The Last Game You Need for the Set, Corey O'Brien. Last game you need for the set, maybe an upcoming episode about a certain Nintendo console no one likes. Unpunched Hang Tab, Dustin Beagle, he has returned to judge this city, Eric Addison, what are you buying? GBO Metric, Red Pyramid Thing, Jonathan Shados, Joseph Garris, he's just out there having a good time achieving his goals. Proud of you. The Nintendo Tape Archivist, Joseph Leo, just put out a post on Video Game Sage about the 100 top-selling NES games on eBay. When you see it, the first thing you'll think is, man, why didn't we have this data before, like, just some guy compiled it on Video Game Sage? This seems like something we should know, right? Shocker of shocks, Super Mario Bros. 3 is the most popular Nintendo game. The Pinball Guy, Joshua Gelb, Lance, Lord Hardstyle Z, Commander Mark Halstead, and this is his favorite store on the Citadel. The Degenerate, Matt Fall, posted in the Discord right now, Michael Chiaramonte, Mint Condition, Mora Bros, Mr. CIB, get your loose Genesis carts out of here, Nicholas Mad Dog McCree DiMaggio, Funkoland Employee, Platform Agnostic, Red the Game Shark. The Famicom Box, Retro Game Enthusiast, They Could Be Ghost and Goblins Twice, Shepish, Sean, The Gamer Collective, The New Craft, who could beat Mega Man without the pause trick, Previously Unknown Variant, Tim Walker, From the Internet, Todd Fisher, I'm sorry, Tim Walker, I didn't say your name excited enough, Tim Walker, From the Internet, Todd Fisher, Can't Put Limits on Collecting, PG Collectaholic, The Millennium, Will Joe, Keeper of the Zelda variant, 0xDef Code, Previous Game Collector, Adam Kavanaugh, getting the full PS2 set because Stefan won't, all caps. What a 9.8, A++ Benji, the actually rare Bird Dog Gaming, dropping the Mario 64 penguin off the map, Brandon Chalker, Brandon Rogers, whose favorite episode is the wrestling episode, Christopher Piper, still shaking from what he found at Goodwill, still finding deals in 2022, Colton Murphy, a winner is him, David Green, Derek Lauer, who made me edit this show on time, Don Libby, the hero of time, Double Ugly presents Double Ugly, the official game of the movie, actually understands the Zelda timeline, Jeff Pierce, the actual Shinobi, Jasonic the Kid, Jeff the Game Boy Farris, he is Error, Jeff Russell, Jeremy Jarvis, here for the Pog Talk, Jeremy Matson, and the Order of No Quarter. Joe actually plays his games Champ Pity, video game art collector because video games are our Justin Chichio, Kevin Zylog Z80 Zaker, Strand type game Chris Shipley. What a horrible night to have living in bits. Nick the video game database Morgan, homebrew mastermind Vertov. Off the map, NZ Collector, the primary guy who collects Korean releases, Peaceful Games, Dungeon Master Reed Stubanik, the promoter, Retro RPG Podcast, Halo, Sean Razine, Tex, who collects for Jaguar, Tom Obscure Variant Chaser Chase, Zaventorian, he knows all 97 Nintendo games, 32 bits or less, do the math! Andrew actually collecting N-Gage O, Ben Parker, a bad enough dude to rescue the president, Chesno, all your base are belong to him, Colby, he is Sinistar. Corhagen does what Nintendo don't, Daniel McArdle, who thought this was the Retronauts Patreon, the Modern Database, Danny Gomez, Darius Sadat, welcome to Die! The Philatelist, Dork Overlord, My Childhood PlayStation Idol, Game-Rave.com, Rip and Tear, Jackson Kubler, he is 8-Bit, John Brown, Joseph Rogers got 50,000 on Double Dragon, collector of everything, including Atari, Kalen McAteer, video game console modding guy, MP3, Sam, Sega Mark III Marks, Sean, the video game Illuminati LaCroix, and Hedgemon of the Geek Empire, Valdor the Great. Valdor the Great! Thank you guys so much. My lungs are still shot from COVID. Man, doing this is hard. Don't get COVID. We're going to end this episode with just a blanket reminder, guys. Don't get COVID.